Welcome to Critical Missfits Entertainment. This is the Terra Sentia series, and we are starting our first actual play session today with characters. So the world building is done. We've moved on from that. We're actually going to play in our world. We're really excited to have you. Stick around.
Squee.
Boom.
I love that.
Okay. Okay. So let's get started by talking a little bit about. Let's see. Let's talk a little bit about where you imagine your characters are residing right now. I know that's a little bit difficult because honestly, like the map in our heads is sort of like ethereal right now, almost. Like we know that they're cities. We don't really know how close or far they're from each other they are. So I'm gonna go around kind of this way, and I'm gonna ask you like where your characters are residing now. Now, I will say that eventually we are going to sort of like have the focal point be in Roseaxe.
Yes.
That said, I'm open to a different kind of a narrative. So I'm going to start with Shanna. Mm-hmm. So Shanna, introduce your character and describe what your character looks like just at a glance. You don't have to go into details, but you can definitely go into as much or as little as you want that you would think that the casual observer would notice. And then tell us where your character currently resides, and then the last thing, and I'll repeat this if you need to. Talk about your character's motivations. Like, what drives your character right now? What is your character doing in life? How does your character want to spend like their time in the future? Like, what are they focused on?
Okay.
So yeah.
So my character's name is Faerynn Lichenstep, and they reside in Roseaxe.
Yeah.
They spend most of their time in the upper what do we call it? The cone or the
crown?
The upper crown of Roseaxe.
Yeah.
They have a very well-known shop called the Stepping Stone that deals in all organic, all wild, harvested and hunted like product, tinctures, medicinals.
Is there a specialty that we should be aware of?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of Faerynn is a very proficient like forager essentially, and can find all kinds of like has a relationship with the mycelium in a way that allows them to find what they're looking for. There's a lot of it's essentially like an upscale herbalist.
Yeah.
But
Artisanal.
Yeah, but it's like
Hipster.
Well, you did use the word medicinal.
Yeah.
In okay.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different, the shop does really well for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
It pays. It definitely has its bread and butter, like whatever the hip new,
Butter.
thing is.
Yeah.
But Faerynn can really get whatever he's going for. Like he spends about a third of his time at the shop. Like that's like where he resides.
Right.
He's not super book smart, but he's really good in the field and does a lot of traveling. Goes to a lot of like really rough terrains.
Yeah.
And like really remote reaches. Knows a lot of people along the road in order to find what he's looking for and what his customer wants. So it's kind of like it's a shop that has like a lot of acclaim, and like it's very well known, and like people really love it, and it's small, but it does everything right. But it's also sort of if like kind of Faerynn can get you what you want for a price is sort of the idea.
I have a quick question. Is there anything that's like illegal? Are there substances that are illegal, or is most everything game like Amsterdam?
Let's actually let that question hang, because I think that should be answered.
Mm-hmm.
And but I'm not gunning to answer it quite right at the moment. But I think that's an awesome
I'm
question.
just wondering if it's like a
Yeah,
front. If there's
for sure.
someone.
Depends
some
what you
aspect that
a-holes
is a
want to do in the
front,
game,
like-
'cause I
Yeah.
might make it illegal.
I mean,
Just calling it out.
And you're outside the law now.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
I don't know what
Yeah.
the answer to that question is as far as like yet. You know, it's hanging, but I do know that I imagine it as there are things that are. Thank you. There are things that are more taboo, if not illegal.
Yeah.
Sort of maybe embarrassing to ask for or taboo to get, and Faerynn can get that. And has a reputation.
Bedroom
I can't
problems
just
that I
like
need a
blanket
mushroom
statement
to help me
like
fix.
Faerynn can go whatever
My
he wants.
mushroom
Has a reputation for doing
mushroom
really
wouldn't
well with getting what somebody needs.
Yeah.
And enjoys it. And so you were saying, and it's like kind of like I keep seeing him as like darker in complexion, but like not like almost like there's like a golden tan going on, sort of, but not just there's like a gold kissed kind of like darkness going on with Faerynn's skin.
Yeah.
Got black hair.
Ooh,
Gray
that's striking.
eyes, like really clear gray eyes, and
Like solid gray or pupils?
pupils.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
So that would almost occur to me like
Irises.
if someone,
The irises are gray.
Right.
Not,
right.
yeah.
So that would almost occur to me as if
Weird.
someone was just looking really quickly, it would just be like solid black eyes with whites on the outside. But if they look really closely, they see that there's gray.
No,
and then
they're
black.
darker gray than that.
They're darker.
You mean lighter or darker?
Okay, they're not like it's not like he's not going on the white gray spectrum of irises. They're
Right.
definitely gray eyes. They're just very clear. Like there's not
Maybe the whites of the eyes are very clear. That's what I sense is like clear eyes.
I
There's
guess
not a lot
maybe
of, like-
maybe you guys are like reading too much into like when I say clear. I just mean like when you look into Faerynn's eyes, there's there's like nothing's like hiding there, and it's not like it's almost like you're like looking into a pool of water, but it's like it's clear. It's just it's an aesthetic. It's not like a
Oh, I love
It's
that.
crystalline. Like you're
Yeah.
looking through depth that happens to be gray colored.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really microscoping deep into the irises of my
I have a
character's eyes,
question.
but
I have a
yeah.
question. Is that in it? Like, and I don't know if I can ask this, if I should ask this, but is he honest? Like, is he?
So it's like a poker face thing. So it's like you don't know. Faerynn's eyes aren't gonna reveal anything.
okay.
they're
So they're
just
not
clear
like
pools.
They're
Like,
not
you're
like
not-
transparent. Like they're just like.
You're not. It's not like a nervous thing. It's just sort of like he's not hiding anything,
And I would
but he's
almost
also
imagine.
not showing anything.
I would almost imagine
Okay.
that if
That makes
Faerynn
sense.
is
Yeah.
hiding something, most of the time people trust
Yeah.
him anyways to the
Yeah.
degree where they would assume that you're being forthright. That Faerynn's being forthright.
Yeah.
All right.
And it's like he's
Yeah.
definitely not hiding anything. He'd be withholding something, if anything. But
Yeah.
I mean,
But
have you heard
strategically.
he's a Lichenstep. Like that name carries a lot of weight.
Anything you want to
It's
say
really-
about your family name, or you want to leave that for later?
just that he's from like he's kind of the black sheep of a very renowned family that like their name holds a lot of weight, and their name has lineage to a lot of our history.
Right.
That's opened a lot of doors for him, but he is unlike his family in a lot of different ways, and is sort of estranged. He is very much estranged from them. They're not uncivil to one another. They just don't want anything to do with each other.
It's fair.
And then what else? Oh, so you were asking like what motivates our characters?
Yeah.
So Faerynn loves like his life. Like he loves that he's created this this shop with this very small staff of people that he trusts and loves dearly, and he loves being out in the field. Like he loves being in a space where he's super inundated with people, with being social, and like he has a good name for himself in his like particular pocket, but he also loves getting away from that and just doing what he does best and learning more and more about how to get what can't be gotten. Like that's his big life puzzle. Is like, how can I get that one thing no one else can get?
So let me ask you a question. Does Faerynn also love his customer base?
Yes,
So it's almost like that's like his community he considers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
very much so.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love that.
And like a chosen community because he's been ousted from his natural community.
Absolutely, and like the people that work for him mean everything to him, and they're like his chosen family,
Got it.
are like his employees, and like the people that take so much great care of his shop, and then his customer base that he connects with.
Absolutely great. I want to ask you, can it hold?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. I want to ask you, and I think I already know the answer to this question, but is there one character inside of this group that you know
That Faerynn knows.
or that you know of?
Yeah.
And I would like everyone, and this is something to think about. I would like
I know.
everyone to know at least one character inside of the group or know of them. You don't have to actually know them personally, but that you've heard of them or that they've come across your sphere of influence somehow, some way.
At least
So
one.
yeah, so just kind of prepare yourself for that. But is there a PC, a character that
Yeah.
you know? Which one is that?
Would Ren call your character Time or
Yep.
Captain?
Time.
Okay, so
Never even introduced yourself like that.
all right. So Time is a customer
Okay.
of Ren's.
Yeah.
That there's like an affinity there
Totally.
for sure.
And okay, cool.
And that's also like worth noting is like Ren is like a familiar kind of name that he gets like with like more like closeness.
Yeah.
But also, you know, Faerynn's like his like business name. You know, it's like
Yeah, Faerynn Lichenstep.
Yeah.
Like people know that
Yeah,
as like
exactly.
a business name, but those who are in your community that have shopped in your store for a very long time, they're, "What's up, Ren?"
exactly.
Got it.
Yeah.
Did you want to ask that question?
Just a age range so that I have an idea. I don't know what your age that you said is. It's like youngish, like young adult.
So yeah, like
Well, they
I
say
mean-
that elves mature at like 130 or something.
yeah.
Like that.
So like
Yeah.
Faerynn's 235 years old.
So like
By Earth standards.
35.
But like 35, yeah.
Okay.
It's like basically
we'll talk about
my
that
age
early
me.
30s.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
But in terms of like youthfulness, you probably look like a fairly young elf.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
you got mad herbs.
But not like
They were
not
essential. Thank you.
you
the
know,
oils,
not like
really
a
important.
whatever you call it, like a spring chicken or something. You know, like
Yeah.
just sort of like okay, like
look seasoned,
I
but young.
feel like Faerynn's like in his prime,
Yeah.
for sure.
Definitely.
Doing
I love
what he loves.
Faerynn.
Me too.
Excited.
Okay, so moving on to Fjerg.
Berg.
Fjerg.
Berg.
Hey, it's fair.
So
Emphasis on the fear. I don't know.
yeah. It actually translates as anger. Yeah, my character is Ferg Elfrigel. 29, almost 30. Pretty nondescript. Black jacket, black shirt, black pants, black boots.
Hot.
Brown hair. Except carrying this really large piece of bladed machinery with a weight on the end. And you're like,
Weight's part
Literally
of
looks
it?
like you ripped it off something.
You're keeping the weight.
yeah, it's part of it.
Gravity. Love it.
Yeah.
Science.
So like yeah, pretty nondescript. If you see Ferg without their shirt off, because they're definitely sleeves are for chumps. You'll notice a lot of
Sleeves are for. Did you just say sleeves are for jumps?
yeah,
Love it.
yeah. You'll notice a lot of tattoos, but it looks really arcane. But if you get close enough, it's all just scripts that are all favorite quotes from books that Ferg has read. Ferg is definitely a book nerd.
What language are those quotes in?
Depends on what book.
It depends on what book. I'm gonna say they're probably gonna be mostly High Elvish, a little bit of Dwarven, and then some Common in there.
Cool.
Just because like Ferg has read almost an entire library.
Rage red.
Rage. No, like Ferg is definitely a book nerd. Like book smart, has all these factoids. Got kicked out of the H&M at 25.
Haven't we all?
Yeah. And so for the last 5
What's
years.
the H&M?
So it's
Clothing
actually
store.
And by the way, you can give as little or as much detail as you want, but you can also reveal this during game, so feel free to do either.
the H&M is technically known as the House of the One-Eyed Seeker, whose symbols are two ravens known as Hugin and Minnie, or
Mugen?
Hugsun and Minnie. I went with the Icelandic.
Cool. Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
I like it. Which is thought and memory.
Thought and memory.
Yes.
I found out Faerynn means iron also.
Oh, nice.
I don't know.
That's a
Sidebar.
weird name for an elf.
Yeah.
And then, so for the last 4.5, 5 years, has just kind of been kicking around, studying at the Zalaria Mycolog and the H&M.
Which neither of those are in Roseaxe, correct?
Nope, this is all in,
I got it.
City of the Sky?
yeah, City of the Sky. I have to read
So
it.
the city in the sky is not
Kabuni.
part of Roseaxe. The one-
Correct.
It's not in the sky. It's called the City of the Sky.
Oh.
Because that's where the first airport was.
Mouth isn't open.
Taivan
It's
Find a
Kaupunki.
nickel.
Tyvan Kalpuki?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really bad at this. My dexterity is shit.
Not versatile.
I mean, you're in character. I love
But you
it.
resisted. You should have caught it.
I got this.
So yeah, lives in Taivan Kaupunki, but has been acting as protection for like when different mycologs need to send things in or out, going with those caravans. acting as-
Interlibrary loans.
Yeah, interlibrary loans.
I worked
But
in
you have to
interlibrary loans.
have a barbarian because it's kind of wild out there still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I'm
So
so
wild.
excited.
Spending
You just
time
go
in
beat
the
people up to get your books back.
no,
You
and
have like
people try and
bounties,
steal
yeah,
the
like,
books.
Yeah,
like
like
no,
book
if it's
bounties.
serious stuff, bounties.
Did you break the
like,
binding? I will break you.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, if you break a
Yes,
binding,
book
Bird will
bounties,
definitely
yes.
break you.
Yeah.
Book
But
bounties.
it's like
Librarian.
at this point,
I love this.
doing like muscle work and like hanging out in the fighting pits and like the sex work that comes off the side of that is like kind of bored and looking for something a little bit more.
Wait, so do you have like 5 jobs?
It all is like one job.
Okay.
It's one life.
But no single pair of healthcare. I swear to God.
Yeah.
It's the lifestyle. It shows.
Yeah. And because of their work in the mycologs, has heard of the stepping stone and is like, oh, maybe like traveling to Roseaxe on the next caravan. And like
Check out that shop.
check out the shop, like check out Roseaxe.
What's attractive to Farrig about the stepping stone?
The depth of knowledge that they've heard that Faerynn Lichenstep has of mycology, like, and it's active knowledge rather than book knowledge. Like, Ferg is like, oh, I want to pick your brain and like probably write it down in a book.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you're like almost like a Faerynn Lichenstep chronicler.
Possibly, maybe, like, but still needs to meet this person first.
Of course. Of course.
Um,
And so as I'm understanding, you're heading to Roseaxe now.
Yeah, like found a caravan that's heading to Roseaxe. Because there's always work in fighting pits and with gangs and sex work, like there's always money to be made. So you don't have
Great.
to worry about it.
What
Love
kind
it.
of sex work does Ferg do?
What kind of money do you have?
Yeah. I was thinking that.
How much money do you have?
Give me 20 gold and you can find out.
Yeah.
Damn, steep prices.
Yeah, that's like you just basically busted out the equivalent of like, yeah, give
That's a
me
horse, right?
$2,000 and
Yeah.
Well, I mean, one
Uh,
gold
yeah.
a day
Like,
is like a
some people make
luxurious
that.
lifestyle.
Yeah,
That's like
totally.
a noble lifestyle. Is one gold.
Yeah, I mean, Ferg
And
can
they should.
run anywhere from like 10 to 15 gold, depending on
Yeah, fuck
how
yeah.
good they were in the fighting pits that day.
Yeah, I was.
So you
know,
get
giving you the
you're
benefit of
more
the doubt.
you're more desirable if you've done well in the fighting pits that day.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
and Ferg
The more
feels
blood and sweat you're covered in.
yeah weird about it because like they're not super tall, they're not super muscly, but like these super haughty elves are like, we need you. Like, all right, you're gonna pay for it.
So is there an official
Pimp?
correlation to that? Like it's like if you come out of the fighting pits, you're like, yeah, you got this, and it's like you officially get a higher rate. Like when you like. Does that
No,
make
it's all
sense?
negotiation.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
elves approach, and
Okay.
there's
Like you
There's
they're
time.
Excuse me, I won
You're
today.
taking
they've
for
watched the
this
fight.
party.
If you're not
I
willing to
know.
pay my prices,
yeah.
that guy will.
And there are some days when Ferg's like, I have enough money, go fuck yourself.
Literally.
Go fuck yourself, not me.
10 gold to go fuck yourself, 15 gold to go fuck me, 20 gold and your friend can come.
That's 30.
Oh.
Yeah.
I just said come, not actually join.
Ferg's not hard up. I mean,
Ah,
unless.
who knows?
Well, and Ferg just doesn't really care. Like, this is all, like, really what Ferg wants to do is, like, learn things and be in libraries. And, like, this is just a way to fund being independent. So,
Yeah.
And, like, working in the caravans, like, ways
Damn
to
right.
travel and get paid.
Got it.
I like it.
So is this a big departure from your life going into Roseaxe? Like, is this like you're taking a vacation or you're like making a big transition? Maybe I missed that. Like,
No, it's something, looking for something more than just,
so you're like moving.
yeah, moving.
Okay.
But, like, that work always moves with you. So,
Okay.
like, if meeting Faerynn doesn't work out, like, maybe Ferg will find something else.
Though maybe down in Roseaxe, you can't demand the same pay.
Who knows? Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
There isn't a fighting pit as far as I know. Who knows?
yeah.
I think that maybe not like.
But there's always caravans. Somebody always needs
I'm a
muscle.
little sad that Faerynn
Faerynn.
is not here at the moment.
It'll be
Yeah, we can wait in this case. I'm just gonna stare longingly into the open.
You need to be
space.
seen. You need to be seen by Faerynn.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
so
I mean, there's
cute.
there's a piece. There's a piece.
Okay.
Captain Time!
Yeah. So my character's name is Captain Time. Long story that maybe she will get into at some point with you, but really, some people call her Tim, but it is pronounced Time, T-Y-M. At any rate, she is a human, well, you'll find out what, wizard. Spoiler alert. And she is kind of awkwardly tall, actually. She's like 6'6". And that makes her a little intimidating to
Just
some
a
people.
foot taller than Ferg.
Yeah, no, it's kind of awkwardly intimidating. She kind of has a little bit of a Scandinavian look to her. So she's kind of like longer blonde hair, which is she typically keeps kind of like shaved or a little bit closer on her right side, and is typically kind of like into a bit of a braid, so it's out of her way on the left. But like that height, not only making her a little intimidating to people, kind of makes her a little awkward, a little ungainly, a little bit. But she kind of appreciates it because good view of the crowds. At any rate, there's so many things I was going to go into. I'm spacing on it now. She looks.
Have a drink.
So she looks to be about 30. Whatever the looks mean. We'll talk about that later. Maybe it'll come up. I don't know. And let's see. Other questions for her. So she graduated either top of her class or pretty close to the top of her class in the Mycolog that is in the City of the Sky. Yeah, Taivan Kapunki.
Yeah.
I'm saying it with
Taivan
confidence. As I
Kapunki?
tell my students in my classes, when they're like, how do you pronounce this thing? And I'm like, I rattle it off to them. They're like, how do you know that? I'm like, I don't. I just say it with confidence. And then they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to try and pronounce this thing.
It is... Where is it?
Google Translate.
No, I named the university.
Oh, you named the university. Cool. I'm down.
Zalaria.
Okay, Zalaria. Maybe there'll be conversations later about my time at Zalaria, but either way, all you need to know for now is I graduated. But in terms of people that I know, I have heard of Ferg because I've spent some time at the library there in the city. Although we have never met, and you probably wouldn't know me, I definitely heard about your leaving the library. Everybody's heard about the angry library.
Yeah, like everybody's.
Yeah,
heard about
it was the talk of the town for a little while, or at least the talk of the library, which is people shushing a lot.
Didn't mean to knock Finuata unconscious, but sometimes your friends say stupid things.
Are you
gotta
aware
really-
of your level of what's the
Fame.
oh my God.
Notoriety?
Yeah,
Notoriety.
No,
or
Ferg is super
infamy.
loner and like
Yeah.
only allowed
Loner
to
like a
use,
book. Ah.
only allowed to use the libraries at night now. Wasn't allowed to join the H&M because they knocked their friend unconscious in a blind rage.
That's fair.
Okay.
Yeah. So
And you're
yeah.
not aware of your notoriety / infamy.
You'll find out maybe.
I want to say like they know their name is known around town, but not like quite how well known they are.
Okay, I like that.
Fair to know. Thing I forgot. Times pronouns are her, hers, like she, her, etc. So she is currently in the Roseaxe Basin, or specifically Roseaxe, for a couple different reasons. First off, she's been following really strong intuition for the last, really since she left the university. It's kind of been like letting what she feels like sort of the flow of the universe take her places. But she's ended up in the Roseaxe Basin, Roseaxe City specifically. For one, she's heard of this algae that is often traded and harvested in out of the lake at the center of the crater,
Right.
and possibly it has some sort of like arcane component pieces to it. She wants to study a little bit, but what specifically draws her is there's talks of this sort of like geriatric quality to it, this hallucinogenic quality to it, and she's been
Geriatric quality?
Yeah, geriatric. That's a thing.
Keeps
Look
you
it up.
young.
Boom.
Oh.
Like some
Geriatric
cases,
means keeps you young?
Yeah.
referencing the
Ah.
To geriatric
things that maybe I'll not mention right now.
He's
So
referencing Dune. Everybody already knows.
there you go. I'm trying to
I
say a
fucking
thing,
stopped
baby.
Dune because it's subtly misogynist, I'm just saying.
Subtly.
Yeah, well,
Or
yeah.
not so subtly.
Which do? It's lots of options. So, either way, she really wants to experiment with this spice, and she's been kind of chasing after this first experience that she had with basically running into the mycelium, like the mushrooms, like getting a bit high and feeling first connected with the mushrooms and the magic. And she thinks that this might be a way of accessing that first vision that she had of the magics and the connection to the universe. And so she really is looking for that. And that's what brought her first into Ren's store. And that she had heard that Ren is a purveyor of many difficult to get items. And that this algae is pretty difficult to get because there's a lot of uses for it. It is not illegal by any means, but it's often so well prized that people snatch it up very quickly. Like the companies in the region pick it up for their purposes, harvest it as quickly as it comes up. It's not impossible, but it is definitely either costly or difficult, and maybe you need some back channels in order to get a hold of it. But Ren seemed to be confident in their ability to gather some at some point. I don't think I have it yet, but maybe soon. So I've only been in town for a few weeks, and we've met and had a sort of instant connection. But like I said, I have also heard of Ferg, but not met yet. The other thing that brought her to town is that she's also one of the things that she studied outside of her arcana is astronomy. And so she is a sage a little bit and has studied a lot about astronomy because our world is very intriguing in the astronomy. There is, for those of you that are not aware, there is multiple moons. We'll talk about the exact number at some point in the future when we figure it out. But there is one that is in a surprisingly tight orbit around the planet. In fact, it orbits every 5 days, which is why we have a 35-hour 5-day, 35-hour solar day and a 5-day week. Right?
Say that again for viewers.
So there's 35 hours in a single day, right? From suns coming back around to the single point. And then there's a 5-day week because of this primary moon that moves through the sky. So every single day it moves a large chunk and you can kind of see clearly where it is. And that's how they sort of determine the days of the week. So first moon, second moon, third moon, fourth moon, fifth moon, and then repeat cycle. Like it?
Because I was totally like, there's 5 days in the week because you have 5 fingers.
Yeah, well, and that also connects. Like, well, obviously we were created for a reason because look, 5 days, 5 moons, 5 fingers. Whoa.
Is it weird? Like, I prefer that.
5 fingers?
I know I've lived my whole life with 24 hours and 7 days, but everything you just described I would like that.
Oh, I would
Yeah.
love that.
I would like
hate
a
weekends,
5-day week,
and I want more hours.
Yeah.
in it.
35-hour days.
Guess what? We could just go ahead and claim that in our world, but it'll be weird. We can make it happen.
Okay.
At any rate,
Promise.
there happens to be also we have in this world two stars that are in our sky. We are in a what's called a circumbinary solar system, where our planet is going around two stars that are orbiting each other. And so they, in our sky, occasionally they are separated from a distance, but they also occasionally are overlapping each other from our perspective, and that's a thing we will explore later. But there is an astronomical event in a few weeks that's going to be Best of View from Roseaxe, where those stars are going to be overlapping, and the primary moon is going to cover them, and so a sort of rare like eclipse that's happening that's actually covering both stars for the reason. Yeah, double eclipse.
Yeah.
What if it's a triple eclipse? That doesn't make sense. And Roseaxe is high up. It's it's in the mountain ranges. It's a very clear, crisp area, and they've got a pretty fantastic observatory here. And so Time found herself wandering to the city, perhaps because of destiny, to gather some algae and take some algae/mushrooms and stare at an eclipse, which sounded really fantastic to her. In terms of motivations, I mean, those are pretty clear, but she is just searching for that, like following the flow where the universe is taking her, but searching for that connection that she first felt when she touched the mushrooms and touched the magic.
Yeah.
Oh,
So she's here,
Chasing the dragon.
chasing the dragon,
Yeah.
chasing the mycelium.
Awesome.
Yeah, any questions? Any questions?
I have lots of questions, but I'm gonna shut up.
I also have like a lot of feelings about the algae, but we can talk about it later.
Cool, we'll come up.
I'm
Actually-
super interested in the
You mean Sparky?
astronomic aspects.
Sparky.
Oh, I have a lot of, I've been doing some
Yeah.
calculations.
Me too.
Spark up,
Which,
Sparky.
by the way, so 35-hour day, 5 days a week. And we'll talk about like some of the effects, and I don't want to necessarily get onto it right now because it might be cool descriptions down the line. But because of the circumbinary orbit, the planet that we're on takes about 8 Earth years, as we count it, to go around those two stars. So, and then that connects interestingly to what our seasons might be like. And I don't know, we'll talk about that later, maybe as my character defines some things through some observations. But I don't want to give everything away. It's not a text.
Totally.
God damn it! I want the textbook.
We can talk, but the viewers, you get to get to a higher tier to earn my astronomy love.
You are the higher tier.
I'm just screwing with people.
Like you are
Or just
the,
be
you
like
are-
a really amazing dealer.
Oh, on that note, yeah, Ren is just now also providing me all of my mushrooms for my components, but also
For your components.
Because there's
yeah,
good
my
shit.
it is a recreational and arcane mushroom uses.
Yeah.
Just completely.
Ashley.
Yeah.
Tell us about your character.
I was just looking up halfling because I don't know enough about them. I forgot why I was.
You
looking
get to make
up.
it up in this world. Have fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Well, my chosen name right now is Spartacus, but every
Sparky.
person I have encountered has chosen to call me Sparky for some reason.
You're really chipper.
I'm
How
really
tall are you?
chipper, and I'm like 3 feet tall.
That sounds super Sparky to me.
Yeah. I'm so Sparky. And I have just run away from home. Oh, what I was looking up was age for halflings. What's the
I think
Basic
they
percent
mature in
human.
their 30s.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's when they're like
Roughly
considered adults.
human.
Like
Yeah, they're roughly human
Okay.
if I remember.
But they live longer.
they're like between humans and dwarfs.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So I'm like I'm like yeah, I'm just about like 20. I'm like adolescent kind of age, but I've been in school, like so I'm like the Matthew McConaughey, but like
I'm
elementary school, middle school, like Matthew McConaughey and Dazed and Confused.
Oh, okay, I was like,
Yeah.
whoa,
Yeah.
where's Matthew McConaughey?
I'm like,
like Matthew
I'm like
McConaughey,
Matthew
and Dazed and Confused,
McConaughey,
like,
but
I
in
just
middle
like
school.
I've been like I've stayed in my little school that I've been in for like forever because I'm just like I'm smart. I just like I'm not maturing.
that's what I like about arcane
You're not maturing
schoolgirls.
So
as
I'm
quick as you
super
used
I
to.
get
smart.
older, they stay the same age.
Exactly.
Also,
exactly.
Mage Hand.
Also maintain.
I have mage hand. I didn't know I have mage hand. I don't know why I have
I
it. 'cause
considered
don't know.
Because of
learning
Matthew
to
McConaughey,
spell
obviously.
Greece, but didn't happen.
Oh, third web.
I did not get that, but okay.
Lube, but it's fine.
We got it.
Magic
so
sex jokes
I
is
have,
real bad.
I have run away. I am
Where are you
in
from?
I'm from the town that I've run away in because I don't have that many options. I'm like I'm just gonna run away to I'm gonna go find oh my god. I can't remember how to say it.
Faerynn?
Because I know
Faerynn,
I know
Faerynn.
Faerynn. Okay, I was adopted by
Horcrux,
humans. I'm a
No.
halfling.
Mhm.
I'm a halfling
I'm
that was
honored.
adopted by humans, and so previous to being adopted, Faerynn was my adoptive parents' IVF people because they were trying to conceive. I have an older brother
What's IVF people?
who fucking
In
hates
vitro
me.
fertilization.
Oh,
I'm
I'm your
you're my
in vitro person?
you're my herbal in
Oh,
vitro
okay, got it.
person.
This will get
'Cause
you right on your
my
cycle.
dad basically can't. He doesn't have a good sperm count.
I'll help you out.
He can't get it up. He has like no
Mhm.
testosterone.
His spore count.
You're his guy.
Spore count. I want to be real clear.
And he likes me better than my older brother.
Yeah.
So he always brings me. He hangs out with me more, and he brings me to you. And so we
I'm
kind
like
of
a
have
fucking pseudo doctor.
we have a rapport.
Who
Like
doesn't
you
know
know
shit.
me as a kid, so I'm kind of on my way to what
Wait, your father brought you to Faerynn.
adoptive father.
Yeah, right.
Adoptive father. No, I just hang out. Like when he goes to get his Viagra, he brings me along. So I know
This is
Faerynn.
great.
Like I get like
Like
a
on your-
fucking,
on his
I get a
trade runs,
lollipop.
basically.
Like yeah,
Yeah.
I've known Faerynn like growing up, right? And
I
so,
love this.
but something happened when I'm like a real do-gooder. I'm super popular. I've been in the school like for forever, so I'm like I have some clout. But like
What
You're
are your
Regina
pronouns,
George.
Sparky?
Yeah, what are your pronouns?
Yeah.
well, I am she.
I am
However,
she.
I don't even know the possibility of being a they. Like that could occur to me later. That like, hey, I can choose, but I'm not even there yet. So I'm a she. I'm a she.
Okay.
A lot of
Right now.
experimentation to go
But
through.
your village
Yeah.
doesn't have a name? Or
Oh,
anything like that?
what's the? Did we decide what village I'm from?
Not village. You're from the metropolis known as Fallenstein, the striving city.
Oh, you're from the evil
not
human
the
city
place
I
in the
made?
sky.
No.
Yeah. Oh, I'm from the evil human city then. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is Fallenstein.
Fallenstein.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I was thinking Falstein, but Fallenstein.
Guys,
Okay, Fallenstein.
evil
Whatever you
is
guys wanna call
very
it.
subjective.
Okay.
Yes, everyone knows that evil is. I mean, I know that evil is.
Yeah, you'd say
I
that
have an
you're from
idea
there.
for how my character would know your character.
Not
if
originally.
You're down for it.
What'd you say?
I said I have an idea for how my character would know your character. So you were
Okay.
asking me a minute ago
Okay.
if you're down for it. We can
Can
wait till it
we
gets to me. You can
see
keep going
Ashley
Okay.
as the staff
Yeah.
holder at the Ritz.
Yeah,
Okay.
The Ritz.
Cool.
What the fuck's them?
we'll talk later.
We'll talk
Okay,
later, yeah.
OC up.
So, I had an incident. I've been like the golden child, even though I'm the adopted child. We still haven't quite figured out why my adopted parents adopted me, or why my other
Maybe
parents.
You don't know.
Well, I know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Exactly.
Sparky doesn't know.
Sparky doesn't know.
Don't
I
tell
don't know.
Sparky.
Okay.
I'm Sparky.
Can we keep that as a theme? Like, Sparky doesn't know. Yeah.
Sparky doesn't know.
Oh,
Sorry.
t-shirt.
Really.
We're already merchandising, guys. We haven't even started
Sparky
playing.
doesn't know. ... But the GM does.
Can it be like? Can it be a D20 with a 1 on it? Sparky doesn't know.
Sparky doesn't
Do
know.
an
I
insight
want
check.
Sparky doesn't know, and then I want the Nothic underneath it.
I'm
Sorry.
still unclear with the
So we will figure it out.
Question mark.
Yeah, I've been going through school over and over again.
Right.
I haven't figured. I just came up with that, so I don't know if that's kosher. But
Super.
I am like the golden child. My older natural biological brother hates my guts because he's kind of
Wait,
fuck
He's
up.
not your biological.
Not biological.
He's
Adopted.
biological to my parents.
Your adopted brother.
So
My
your
adopted brother.
Yeah.
It hates me. I'm like good at everything. He kind of sucks at other things. He sucks. He's not socially good.
Hygiene's
You're
terrible.
young, right? You're like 12 or 13 or something.
Yeah.
Well, 20
roughly.
for a halfling is like
Yeah.
is like a middle schooler.
Okay.
Right, which is why I just keep going back. And so I had a little. I was trying to protect somebody who was being bullied, but I ended up really fucking a kid up. Who's like really fucked up now, and like I'm not the golden child anymore.
Ooh.
And so my brother has been like is capitalizing on this. Whether he orchestrated this or not, I'm not sure. I don't know if this is too much.
He's
shit to
gaslighting.
talk
How
about.
did you fuck this child
He's not
up?
gaslighting me. He's like
Like, did you
Ha-
use a spell and it just like?
I was protecting somebody, and I ended up protecting too hard. and didn't know I had something
You
come out of
snatched.
me, and
You jubileed and magic missiled somebody.
I'm thinking shocking grasped somebody accidentally
Taser.
and didn't know, like, so I'm just peeking into my sexual maturity, which is actually when people start to go nuts, when people in all primates and
Puberty.
pretty much all
You have puberty.
I'm coming into
Shocking.
puberty, and so shit's coming out, and I
Electrical
don't know
shit,
what the hell's
unfortunately.
happening. And so my brother knows this is happening. My parents are trying to figure out, oh, they're scrambling, like, she hurt this kid, what are we gonna do? So my brother goes ahead and provokes me, and like, no, he's like fucking me up, and he's fucking with me, and I end up hurting him too. So I'm like, I'm bad.
Hurting your brother?
Hurting my brother,
Mhm.
and I am
This is the runaway.
I'm out. I'm
This is why you run
out.
away.
I like, he's like, because he wants me, and he maybe plays up the hurt, and he's like, you gotta get the fuck out of, you know the scene where Scar is like, you fucking killed your dad, get the fuck out, Simba, like, you're
Right.
like,
Oh,
get
we're
out.
ranking now.
The
I was
only
like,
thing is,
what?
like, or like, yeah.
Any soccer game ever.
Like Scarface.
Yes, exactly. Soccer and Scar mixed. Okay.
Oh my god, I'm so hurt.
Our parents are gonna hate you, and I'm very like, my identity is based around my adopted parents loving me.
Or just people in general loving you, right? Like,
Yeah, people in general. Yes,
Acceptance.
true.
Mhm.
Yes.
Regina George.
And so I see myself as this is good, and I don't know what to do. So I run the fuck away,
Mhm.
and I'm running to find you. I'm living on the
God.
streets. I'm trying to find you because I want you to suppress. I want you to suppress the shit that's coming out of me. You help my dad.
Take a hit of this. This will take
Hey,
care of
I
it.
have a question
Oh,
for
I'm
you.
not ready for
Did you
this.
kill the kid that you...
I've thought about that,
Do it.
did
and
you
I
kill
feel
it?
like I wouldn't.
Can I say that you don't know?
Yeah, you ran away.
That's
before it
good.
was
They're
decided.
like maybe an
Yeah.
intensive like it's because I wouldn't be at home. I wouldn't be in a situation
Good
with my
storytelling.
brother where I'd be able to hurt him. If I'd killed some, I'd be in a more, I feel like, cloistered.
Maybe he was
Situation.
hurt so bad.
So he was
maybe he
hurt
could
so
have died
bad.
later. Maybe not.
Exactly,
Who knows?
exactly.
Right.
So that maybe happens, maybe doesn't.
What if
Indeterminable.
maybe they're like you heard wind of like constables or somebody coming to talk to your parents. You took off before then. Like it could have been word of what happened.
Yeah, or maybe, and this is maybe too much, and you can edit this out. But maybe,
No, keep it rolling.
maybe he, like, the kid was gonna pull through, and my brother is the one who made like pulled the plug. Like,
Suddenly evil.
what's my brother?
Your brother.
Well, my brother has a
He's a
chance.
genetic
He's
experiment.
like-
She's
yeah,
great.
he
Her
hates
brother is
me.
chaotic evil. Clearly.
Okay.
Can we, by the
Maybe
way,
chaotic evil, maybe
implore
neutral
a
evil,
viewer
yeah.
at some point to make an animated version
chaotic
of this
evil.
entire
Maybe
story that
dressed
just
up
happened?
more.
Because I would love with her
And
voiceover. With the voiceover
yeah,
happening,
like,
yeah.
voiceover interpretation.
Was
We could do that.
the kid that
I know some
you
animators.
assaulted
I'm
he,
gonna start
she...
watching.
Yeah.
I
By the way, I love
don't
your
know.
shirts.
I
Okay.
don't have a decision on that. Whatever you think
The
is
game.
best.
Cool.
Whatever you think is
My
best.
friend Chaz. Denise
So
is thinking
I'm
it's the
going
fun
for.
ones,
I need
so
some. I'm going to the person who I know is the wise man. You've always been kind to me. I know you can help me suppress my magic
Okay.
and find a way back
It's your
into
best shot,
good graces.
anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
Take a hint of this, kid.
Um,
this will take
How
the edge
long
off.
have you been wrestling with these newfound sort of X-Men-like powers?
I think they've been popping up a little bit, but nothing like what happened with the violence.
Yeah,
Like
the
not-
violence was intense
Yeah.
and unexpected.
and unexpected. Like I've been trying to hide it. It's been popping up, and I've been trying to hide it. So.
Unexpected
Yeah.
violence.
Woo.
And so I don't know.
That's a good shirt.
Like distance wise, I don't know how far my city
Sparky
is
wasn't
from. What's the city of the sky?
Roseaxe?
No, see this guy.
Wherever you are.
Fallenstein.
For Roseaxe, you're in Faustine.
Oh, the city of the
Roseaxe-
sky.
City of the
Sorry.
Sky.
What is it called?
Taivan Kampuki?
Yeah.
Roseaxe.
Confidence.
Kabuki.
Tithing Kabuki.
No,
Kapunki.
if you're going to Faerynn, then you'd be going to Roseaxe right now.
Correct.
Oh,
Yeah.
You're in Roseaxe. You're not in.
No,
Oh.
that's where we
Oh.
meet.
Okay, I'm going
Sorry.
to Roseaxe. Does that
Yeah.
mean like am I allowed in Roseaxe? I don't know the
Why would you
Why
not?
not? Yeah.
well the shitty city. Are we
There's-
It's a great
It's a
city.
great
no,
Hey,
not Roseaxe.
Make Fallenstein great again. Thank you.
Fallenstein.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Make
I
Fallenstein
think of
great
it as
again.
America.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very.
So-
You're allowed to be in.
So let
there's-
me just be clear. Humans have been responsible for a lot of the ills in the world in the last maybe 100 to 200 years. That said, and by the way, 100 to 200 years, let's remember that's like a lot longer than our 100 to 200 years.
So the year is based on the world we're in, not Earth years. So like 100 to 200 years would be like 800 to 1600
Oh, really?
years.
Yeah.
Right.
Based on like how long it takes for
So
us to go around the sun.
I'll actually
There's
actually
ours.
take a step back and say about 100 years, like 80 to 100 years.
Okay.
That said, there are plenty of humans that are good people, that are nice people, that are actually like productive people, that like do their due diligence, that try to assimilate into a community, much like Roseaxe.
However, even the shitty ones, I'm assuming, have the privilege of walking around like
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Also, I mean, you may have by the way jumped an airship from Palestine here. I don't know.
I feel like I was thinking about maybe being like part of like a band that kind of is. I'm a halfling, so I'm small. I can do some fun stuff. Like kind of using me to like a band of shitheads.
Oh, like a band.
Like a
band of brothers, as
Yes,
opposed to like a
yes.
metal band.
Yes.
Damn,
Well, I was
really
going to
knowing
say,
metal
'cause
band.
I was thinking that I'd be on my way from Faustine to Roseaxe as well, and Keth is also an orphan, and I think if he saw you going by yourself,
Okay.
he would feel the need to protect you.
I'm gonna stop
if
you real
you're
quick.
down for that.
Are you mostly done?
Yeah,
Do you think that you
yeah,
can
yeah.
end? So
I'm
this is a
ready to
good
move on.
segue.
Yeah.
I was
perfect.
asking if you were comfortable with me doing
Perfect.
that. Then our characters would know each other outside of it, and Keth would
Where
see
would
you
we
as a-
know? In what situation?
I know, right?
So
Two
essentially-
orphans meet on the road.
Let
and,
me just
like,
explain
the
my
back of the
backstory, and then I'll show
Airbus.
you.
Come
something
here
I
with the
know.
drug
Is that okay?
dealer.
Okay. So are you guys ready?
Oh yeah, we're ready.
All right. So
Medicinal.
Keth essentially was born in Faustine. He spent his entire life in the forest of Kashar, or he wasn't born, sorry, he was conceived in Faustine. He was born in the forest of Kashar. His mother was one of the, they're not really slaves, that's not how the humans of Faustine see him, they're in,
Of course not.
what do you call it, like where
The
you're,
Wanderers?
Involuntary
No,
workers.
it's a specific term that,
Indentured
Minimum
servants?
wage.
indentured servants, right. So,
Not slaves.
Can I stop you? I have
Yeah.
a just real quick question. So when you say born, what's the
Conceived.
conceived and born? Where's
the difference there is
One is when
because-
the penis goes in.
Pregnancy is long. I don't know what the gestation period for half-orcs is.
got it?
Okay, so his parents, essentially,
Clear.
his mom, okay, let me just start over. His mom was in Faustine and fell in love with a human man. They were both indentured servants.
Okay, I'm getting
and
it. I'm picking up
humans
the
get released at the end of their indentured servitude. Orcs still have yet to be released at all. The humans of Faustine see basically the debt from the war that went between them over the Mycelian. They blame the orcs for the fact that the Mycelian don't want to interact with them anymore, and they also blame the orcs for all their like people dying. Like a ton of humans and a ton of orcs died in this war, and the humans won.
I'm going to inject one thing. It's not public knowledge that the Mycelian are sort of drawing back from the humans.
It's not.
I'm going to say that public knowledge is that the humans are still ballers and they got this.
Right.
you
The
say-
government
I
of
just wanna say that out
Faustine
loud.
is kind of saying that, and they blame any like hiccups that they're having with the Mycelian on the orcs. So they're kind of just like showing their entire society the orcs are the cause of all your problems, and that's why they're going to keep working for us because they owe us.
Yeah.
And
Rocks
is
are
it-
hard, water's wet, and orcs are the problem.
Orcs are the problem.
Yeah.
So is this like sort of like in the timeline? This is sort of like we're starting to see a couple hiccups, but they're sort of more like these like whisperings.
It's more
Yeah,
like
and people are already
fuel
using
shortages,
Well, I don't
things
subjugate
like that,
other
like kind of.
people.
Yeah,
you know,
I don't.
kind of
Well,
these,
Keth
shady
wouldn't
fish.
know that personally because he was born in Kashar, right? And so I'm seeing Kashar as kind of like
gonna be a
where
very
the orcs like.
podcast.
I'm seeing
We're gonna
Kashar
work
as
through a
kind of
lot of
like where the orcs receded to at the end of the war, and so they kind of like sequestered themselves off into this like mystical forest that the Mycelian showed them how to traverse through, and that's called listening, and it's kind of like all orcs can do it, and they can teach other people to do it too, and they basically listen to the Mycelian, and the Mycelian helps them navigate this mystical forest. And if you can't listen, and this is how they've hidden from people for so long, the forest will just kind of walk you around in circles and then spit you back out after a couple days. So you think you're going somewhere, and then you just come back out in the end.
Or
How
worst
very
case
Zelda.
scenario,
Or worst case, you die. People get lost
Just
in the
like,
forest of
you're
Kashar.
gone.
You're just gone. Like and
never seen again.
orcs
You
sometimes
become
don't even find them.
food for the mushroom.
Down
That
to
tree
that.
eats
Yeah.
you like in The Hobbit.
Yeah, exactly. And
But no top off of it.
and so the orcs right now, at the very end of the war, they would go between their 13. There was 13 tribes. There's only 3 remaining after the humans wiped them out. Of the 10 tribes that were wiped out, all of their descendants are indentured servants. And so Keth is from one of the 10 wiped out tribes, but he was brought into the forest by his mom and found wandering by the tribe of the Blackfang. They are a nomadic race, and they go between the cities that used to exist for all of the orc tribes.
Inside of the forest?
Inside of the forest, they kind of like
The Kashar
go
forest,
from old city to old city, and a lot of them are like so overgrown that even if you were to like kind of stumble across one, you might not even notice it's there, if that makes any sense. And so they like started these nomadic routes as kind of like a way to keep themselves safe in case any humans did come into the Kashar forest. And at this point, it's just part of their society. Also, at the end of the war, it was called the First Penance. The matriarch, essentially the chieftains' wives, killed the 3 remaining chiefs and took over their people because they saw that their husbands weren't going to give up on a war that they had already lost, and they didn't want to lose the rest of their race.
Yeah.
So they killed their husbands.
It was either honor or survival.
Exactly. They killed their husbands, took the rest of their race into seclusion for survival. The only people they interact with is a myconome civilization on the northern edge of the Kashar forest that they go, and it started as a trade agreement, and now they're pretty great friends, and they have a lot of gathers and stuff together where...
And I just want to say, I want to be clear that Fallenstein is on the sort of southeastern border where the myconome's way far north. Just wanted to...
And I'm even kind of seeing like the Kashar as being like mystical, and like Falstein's tried to cut it back a few times, and every time they try to do that, it inches closer than it was before to them, so they just kind of leave it the fuck alone. Because they've tried to like subjugate it, and it's like, no.
What is it?
Kashar, the forest.
The forest.
The
Okay.
forest itself
Okay.
is quite the defense
Got it.
mechanism.
Yeah, exactly. The forest is basically what's kept the orcs alive.
Yeah.
The last tribes of orcs. And so the entire orc race is basically going around kind of like a bunch of monks. They're like in cloisters. There's 3 tribes that are left, and then there's a bunch of orcs who kind of got away, and they wander, and they're called the tribeless. And they can interact with people outside of the Kashar forest, but they come and go, and they still come to gathers and everything. But they're not part of the 3 tribes that are left. They've considered themselves outside of a tribe at this point.
And if I may, I will add to that it's common to see a lot of sort of monks and druids.
Right, exactly. A lot of
Inside
monks and types of druids, like, because they are a very like penitent and almost religious race. They think that they have to do penance for failing the Mycelian by not defeating the humans, because the humans were, using the Mycelian for their technological advances, and the Mycelian was like, yo, orcs, we need your help, you gotta stop them, and they didn't stop them. They lost, and the Mycelian are receding from them too. Most orcs can only listen now, and that's like kind of their only connection left with the Mycelian. And so Keth has gone to a point, he's in his like mid-20s, so he's, which is like, orcs' age are very similar to humans, so he's like, he's around my age. And
I love how everybody's done that. I am my D&D age. I am a child.
And so Keth has gone to a point. He was basically raised by the entire tribe of the Black Fang. His mom brought him there. She gave birth to him, and then she disappeared a week later. She left a note with Ramalg, who was the chiefess of the tribe, and she kind of took Keth as like a favorite and almost
her name
a son.
again?
Ramalg.
Ramalg.
Yeah, Ramalg.
Got it.
And
I have it written down, but I wanted to see how you pronounce it.
Yeah, you're good. And so basically, he kind of had this inkling for a really long time that they weren't being very proactive with trying to gain the Mycelians' trust back, and he believed that they needed to be more aggressive and less passive, and they needed to prove themselves to the Mycelian. So he was planning on like embarking out and doing that. And Ramalg and everybody else was supportive of him, but Ramalg fell ill and then dies, and on her deathbed gave him a letter that his mom left behind. And so he hasn't opened it yet. The only thing he really knows about his parents are that they were from Falstein, that his mom was one of the workers, but they aren't talked about very much in the Forest of Kashar. Those people are kind of seen as already dead to them. All the people that have been indentured in service and their children that have come back and just been put into servitude are seen as lost. They're not seen as like savable or anything like that. They've already been mourned, if that makes any sense. So people don't really talk about them that much in Kashar. But Keth was able to, like, from getting things from different people, kind of piece together that his parents were from Falstein, and he knows his dad was a human, so he decided to travel to Falstein and try to figure out a little bit more about his past, but he hasn't been able to bring himself to read the full letter yet. And in Falstein, he was met with so much basically just racism. Like, he was not treated well because he looks more orcish than the half-orcs that are generally released.
Is there a slang for half-orcs?
There can be. I don't know. You're from
Or
Falstein.
orcs in general.
Wait. So,
but I feel
so,
like a half-breed is gonna have definitely like a different connotation, right?
The half-orcs, I may have missed this. So half-orcs sometimes get released if they look more human.
That's kind of how I was picturing it. Basically,
Passable.
an orc has never been released in living memory as far as any of the indentured servants can remember. An orc has not been released. And if anybody has their children, I think I wrote it down that they're constantly reminded.
It hurts.
They're constantly reminded of the depth of their debt as their children are put to work beside them. So, like, you literally, like, the second they get old enough, their kids just right next to them, they're doing whatever Faustein's trade is. They're basically, I kind of was thinking mining, but it can be anything. Maybe harvesting mycelium, something
Faustine
that's...
is
They're
a
contrived debt. The
metropolis,
debt.
So,
It
so
doesn't work in any way, really.
I can almost guarantee you that Faustine has a lot of hands in many cookie jars.
They're basically all the menial workers, is like orcs. And it's not uncommon in Faustine to just see orcs doing different tasks.
But half-orcs
Where
sometimes
is
do get
Faustine
released.
Yeah.
in relation to Roseaxe?
I haven't decided yet. Is the short answer?
Okay.
Um,
Just trying to,
I
like,
will
get
say
a map
that
in my mind.
that it's.
A few days by
I would say that.
airship.
So I'm imagining the Kashar Forest is sort of roughly in the middle of this gigantic valley that is also known as the Kashar Valley.
Mm-hmm.
So what I was imagining is that Roseaxe is on kind of the polar opposite ends or close to Faerynn. It's still within the area, it's still within the valley, like this massive valley. I mean, think of the Willamette Valley; it's like massive, right? But at the same time, so they're still close to one another in that regard. But in terms of within the valley, they're kind of polar opposites from each
Billy,
other.
you just gave me a fucking great idea.
Awesome.
So
It's what I exist for, quite frankly.
So from that, I'm gonna say that basically I went to Faustine. I was not getting met with any of the answers that I needed. I could not find any. I know my last name is my human surname is Helder, so I was looking for anything I could find about my father, but nobody was really wanting to help me. And I thought that I wasn't really getting myself to the point where I was like, I wasn't proving myself to the mycelium. I wasn't doing anything for my people, and that's what I set out to do. So I'm kind of putting that on the back burner and hoping that maybe it'll come organically, like, because that's kind of just like part of my belief system. Like, it'll come to me when it's necessary. Like, I'll find this information when I'm supposed to, type thing. Like, I'm trying to force it right now. So I leave Faustine, and if Roseaxe is on the other side of the Valley of Kashar, I'm gonna say that I was just planning on cutting through the forest, and the second I step foot into the forest, I can hear the mycelium telling me to go a different direction than I was expecting. And so I start walking that direction, and I come across a halfling crying, hiding behind a tree.
Yes.
And when I come across this halfling, I kind of don't really get much of their story, but I tell them that they basically tell me that they're lost, and I tell her I know the way through the forest, and I can help her get to Roseaxe.
Yeah.
And she tells me she's looking for you, and I have heard of you from the Wandering Orcs, the Tribalists. And
You wanted the Kashar Forest from time to time.
Are you seeking
sure.
just because a knowledgeable person, or why have you heard of?
Oh, I was saying I've heard of you from the Wandering. I'm assuming that if you're going out, that you've come to Kashar before on any of your like runs. You know what I mean?
Like that's the expression.
And if you have come to Kashar, if you can't listen, then you've had to have
like
orc
his step. Thank you.
guides. You know, and because you've had
Took the
orc
words right out of
guides,
my mouth.
then those guides would have talked about you at gathers and stuff. Like, I feel like I would have at least heard of you. So when you told me you're going to this person, I'm like, oh, I kind of heard of that person. And Roseaxe is where I was headed. Let me help you. I'll
this makes
protect you
sense.
and guide you through the forest.
Okay.
Type thing.
Your
So
name
I
is
feel like
become
I need
synonymous
to
with
have
orc
been
friend.
with some kind of band of shitheads,
The Faerynn
and they
part,
ousted me
anyway.
because I fucked some shit up. Like, and I'm like, I don't even. I
It doesn't
can't
have to be that
even-
if you
I
don't want
can't
to.
even be a criminal.
Just can't run away,
Wait.
right?
So what you're saying is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when Keth finds you, you're post-wandering band of shitheads.
Mm-hmm.
Very brief stint.
Right. But
Yeah.
you're post-wandering
Two
band of
days.
shitheads. You
Yeah.
join them, they're like,
Right.
okay, I guess we can
Well,
get...
no. They were trying to use me, and
Yeah.
I was like, okay,
That's
I need,
exactly
I
what I
need
was about to
somebody,
get to,
and then
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they were trying to use you, and you tried to do your best, but at the same time, due to your burgeoning powers, you fucked
Burgeoning
shit
powers
up, however.
and want to do good. They
Really
were trying to
sound like
use
this
me
entire
for
story.
ill,
Right.
and
Right.
I fucked it up because I
was
wasn't.
shopping
Yeah.
Roseaxe.
Yeah.
And also my burgeoning powers.
Perfect.
I have to pee so fucking bad.
Okay, so
Also
here's what we're
sexist.
gonna do. So do you feel complete?
Something,
yeah, that was pretty much it. I have
something
Okay.
I want you to think about, though. Don't answer, though. But besides the letter that you got, did your mom leave you any physical trinket or evidence behind?
Artifact?
Artifact. That's all. Don't have to answer. Think
Okay.
about it. Maybe
So-
we'll
actually
find
have an
later.
answer for that, but that's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good.
don't.
That's
yeah,
fine.
Okay,
Oh,
so
I want to talk
what
about my arcane focus.
we're gonna do is we're gonna take a break. I'm
In
gonna
action.
reset everything. So go and do all of your bathroom.
Told this is the best
Yeah.
thing
Okay.
in the
Got
world.
it. All right. You ready for my little Roseaxe narrative?
Yes.
All right. Roseaxe. Home to 25,000 plus souls within the Roseaxe Basin. It is home to a great many descendants of all of the great humanoid races that made it out of the Demon Wars alive. Seeing airships and other flying vessels are as common in the sky as seeing clouds, although you're more likely to see a mass expanse of gray than a singular cloud body. This city, while not the largest in the region, is one of the most tolerable to all walks of life, with a few exceptions. This tolerance has bred a merchant culture for over a century within the city-lined caldera, creating a bustling about the city, both on land as well as in the sky. Because it is often the case that one is either traveling uphill or downhill, Roseaxe has developed a great many switchbacks, escalator, and elevator systems powered by the Mycotech Guild, or the MTG, one of, if not the, most influential guilds in the city, owned and operated by a number of families that are actually too many to count at this point. It's almost like a guild within a guild. So if one were to begin their exploration of the city from within the basin, you would start at the Lake of Steam, a body of water producing pockets of algae blooms 35 hours a day, 5 days a week, as well as emitting a constant moist vapor, preventing one side of the slopes from ever seeing the other. Which leads us to the slopes. Most agree that this is the least pleasant district, having the honor of being the most poor of all the Roseaxe districts, as well as the darkest. It experiences, on average, 2.5 roughly hours of sunlight per day. The MTG has done little work to make the slopes the technological wonder the rest of the city enjoys, as most of the district utilizes the switchbacks that take one in and out of the lower caldera. Travel is difficult in the slopes, and folks from the Crown avoid this district when they can, and they often do. The Inner Crown is a jumble of lower middle-class citizens mixed with merchants, artists, and everyday folk coming and going from work. The Inner Crown, or IC, as most people call it, is home to a variety of libraries, including the Roseaxe Mycologue, nestled in the center of town. The higher in elevation one gets, the closer one comes to the Airborne District, technically part of the Crown, distinctly separates the Inner Crown, IC, from the Outer Crown, the OC. The Airborne District is where... The Airborne District is where...
Surprisingly Republican.
The Airborne District is where all of the trade and commerce happens. Airships take off and dock, merchants make deals, both foreign and domestic, and con artists seek illicit leg-ups in this world of financial, political, and social capital. The Outer Crown, home to the wealthy and powerful, many a political maneuver has been executed over the years in the OC, as this is the most common of districts to see dignitaries and politicians from the many towns and city that exist within the Kashar Valley. It is said that all are welcome here, but that's just what folks say. It's all but clear to most that certain folks are looked down upon, and while they are not outright insulted or assailed, certain establishments do not tolerate some races or orientations. So, I'd like to start the story off.
Hey, Bill.
Okay.
Before you jump into the story, just give it a little bit of context, unless you have like something that counters this. Part of the repercussions of the 8-year like orbit of this planet is that its seasons are a lot longer, right? Like as opposed to like a quarter of our 1 year is different seasons.
Yeah.
Like a quarter of those years is like 2-ish years, 2+ depending on. I mean, it's a very elliptical orbit as we've talked about. So like it actually gets closer to the center stars and further away, like noticeably so. Where Earth's orbit is almost circular, but it's still oval. But that accounts for its seasons, right? So like based on this weird orbit, it can have like a 2 or 3 year winter, or a 2 or 3 year summer or something like, depending on like where it is, and it changes over time. But like, I don't know, unless you want to say like where exactly we are in that. Maybe we're in like, you know, a deeper winter perhaps. But it's up to you. Like,
you know what? Let's just put it to what seems like the most fun now leading into the future.
Summer.
Okay, what do you say?
I was gonna say end of summer going into fall because fall and spring are gonna be the longest seasons.
Yeah.
And also the
Depending on
mushrooms
how
wettest.
this time.
Yeah, more
Right.
mushrooms.
Yeah, I like summer to fall. I like that a lot actually.
I'm cool with it.
I mean, mushrooms can
That's
winter.
when Keth
Winter
would
can be a
decide to leave the
relatively good
forest
time for
for sure.
mushrooms too, depending on how harsh the winter is.
As
Yeah.
far as time of year goes.
Yeah. We'll say that it's closer to fall than the summer, but it's still basically summer.
How wintry do our winters get?
I mean, pretty
It's
bad.
up for debate, but honestly, like a lot of the seasonal shifts, due to, and we kind of talked about this, due to sort of the orbiting moons are actually relatively minor. So there's not a whole hell of a lot of intense shifts one way or the other.
There's longer scale patterns. So each year, 8-year cycle, right? We'll have like a summer, winter, springs, etc. Right, but like there are a precession of our orbit as it kind of shifts, and because of the effect of the moons and lack of our like inclination, like it. Generally speaking, there wouldn't be like a lot of variation, but over the course of like 50 years, every 100 years, something like that, there's going to be larger like resonance patterns that would make like a really intense winter, right? So maybe we know of like, oh, like 5 winters ago, 40 years, 50 years, right? Like there was, you know, this really bad one, right? Like those kind of stories will come up, but then it's been consistent, but maybe going back another way. So there's these long-term cycles that might become relevant. I don't know, but to kind of think of it that way.
So, Keth and Spartacus. First of all, how much gold do you have on your person right now?
10.
Okay, take off about 8 of that, because that's what gained you the basically gained you passage on the airship for yourself and your little charge, in terms of getting from where you were before. Which, remind me, was that Fallenstein?
Well, I found kid here in the forest after they'd run away.
Okay,
She'd run away.
near the Kashar
In
Forest.
Fallenstein.
Yeah, on the edge. Yeah,
Right.
that on the edge side of Fallenstein.
Okay, so I mean, you know enough about Roseaxe to know that basically you have to enter that city via airship.
Okay.
Like unless you are an incredibly adept tracker, ranger, and the like. Really, that city was built with air travel in mind, and only air travel in mind.
Okay.
So that being said, you had to book passage on an airship, and that's going to cost you a little bit of money. Long story short, that passage was
That's okay.
that passage was gotten, and you are now basically like where I want to start is the sort of shudder of the airship like docking. It's just like this slow lurch, and then suddenly, and then stillness. With the exception of the sort of very loud,
It's all good, Sparky.
the very loud, like intense, magical. I don't want to say whirring as much as I want to say like emanating. As then the whole entire airship, you would imagine, powers down in a way. And then you can see people kind of very sort of I don't know, kind of you guys have been on the airship for a while, so everybody's kind of getting up, even though they're not gonna.
I just want to say, Keth right now has never been on an airship before, so his eyes are actually closed. Because he is sitting there
And I'm like
focusing on his inner thoughts and trying to disassociate from his surroundings because
Yeah.
he's a little bit freaked out.
Be the
You're
stream. Be the stream.
So much so that like even though I'm like
I'm
hitting
just like-
you, you're like I'm like because I'm used to riding on my dad's like private Tesla equivalent like to get there when we go like and
Yeah.
I'm like
His
oh,
Tesla
yeah.
minivan.
Now
Yeah,
you're
my
on the
Tesla minivan.
Flavian.
I really want a Tesla minivan.
Wouldn't be green tech because that's chlorophyll based, but it would definitely be like. White tactic.
And,
But you can keep talking. I'm
and
just saying.
and
Keth's not
I
down
guess
for
I
this.
guess what has you open your
Nerd.
eyes out of your it's almost meditation is a hand on your shoulder, and you sort of wake up and you see this sort of gangly human man that's like looking over you, and he says, "We're there now, boy. You can open your eyes and take a look around you. It was a long journey, I know. My back is stiff. Ugh." And he's just sort of like making his way. He's kind of pulling out whatever sort of luggage that he had that's sort of like stuffed underneath his seat, as well as countless others. You're kind of right in the middle, so like you almost experience this like intense claustrophobicness. Like when you open your eyes, you're like, "Oh God, I gotta get out of
Well,
here."
I've
But-
also never really been around this many people.
Indeed.
Like, except for like when my whole community gathers together at once.
And
That's
even
not-
then, it's in open air, so this
Yeah.
is very challenging, right? So
Do we need to stay together? Maybe I was
I think
so
it's gotten to
freaked
the
out.
point where I'm not
Is it
not
possible?
protecting you anymore.
Maybe
I'm
I was
just,
so freaked out, like it was stopped, and like I couldn't wake you up, and I just ran off. Unless we need to still
up
be
to you.
together,
I would say that even that's
or you could go looking for me or something.
I would look for you if you ran off.
that would be kind of difficult considering the all the people that are jam packed. Like think of an airplane and think about how many people are like jammed in there. Like even a halfling in your
Okay,
size,
you find me hiding in like the luggage rack.
it would be. Oh my God, that's funny.
I'm pretty tall. I'm like 7.5 feet.
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
And so I'll say that there's this moment of panic as you don't see Sparky around, but then it's just kind of like one of those moments where like your head pops out. You're just like,
Yeah.
Eventually you deboard,
Okay.
and you make your way across a sort of iron lattice that kind of a makeshift bridge that gets you. That gets you eventually.
You're so small compared to me. I'm probably just holding you.
Yeah, it gets you to this
You stay out there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry.
It gets you to this high up dock. There's a lot of wind up here. You're sort of hit by oddly the blast of heat. And it's sort of like uncomfortable heat, almost muggy. And then you eventually step your way down, and kind of follow the crowd. Essentially, I mean, they all essentially know where they're going, and you're holding Sparky's hand, and you're clearly like, this is a big place, but at the same time.
Well, you've been there before,
I've
right?
been here, but I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna explode with magic any second. I don't know you. You were just like catatonic for like
A second. Sorry about
a
that.
while, yeah.
You've always been with your family, always been with your
I was
safety
meditating.
net of your family.
Yeah.
Where now you feel more alone than you've ever felt.
Yeah.
Um,
If I'm
And-
uncomfortable, I could like go here.
Your hands are just a little sweaty.
yeah.
It's magic. It's grease. Thank
It's
you.
magic. You're okay.
You almost find
Is it really
yourself.
sweaty?
Just a little bit.
You almost find yourself standing still, kind of trying to get your bearings and figure out where you're going. And the standing still is met with people giving you annoyed looks, like, "Why are you stopped? This is clearly the go." You know, like aisle. People bumping into you, shouldering you. A couple of racial epithets, just like immediately targeting you. Like underneath their breath, that sort of thing.
I've definitely heard that in Faustine from my couple weeks there.
Yeah.
So I it kind of just I'm letting it slide off.
This
Yeah.
could be some commuters. Some
Fallenstein,
commuters.
Yeah.
Fallenstein was far more like in your face.
Yeah.
This is more under the breath.
Like,
Like Portland.
On that though
racism.
too,
Yeah.
like this city is I feel like so much more amazing than what Faustine would look like. That Keth is kind of like overwhelmed and just like, Sparky, you've been here before? Like this place is like
Yeah,
like,
maybe
fantastic, you know
maybe
what I mean?
reassuring
Like-
me,
Well-
like you've been here before. You know this place better than I do. Maybe I feel a little better.
yeah, like
I
I have
where
a
we
question.
go.
How are halflings seen racially?
Uh,
How are they?
fairly normally. I mean,
usually
like,
below eyesight.
so I would say that
About 3 feet off the ground.
so I would say that the majority of the population of Roseaxe is humans, dwarves, and elves. That's like the bulk of the population. And at the same time, there are other races milling about as well. Halflings would be kind of a
halfling
close
holding
fourth.
a half-orc's hand, maybe they think you're my like caregiver or something.
Yeah. Do you look really?
Do you want to see what I look like?
Well, do you look more orcish than human?
Yes, I definitely would have been a half-orc that would have been kept in the in indentured servitude in Faustin. I feel like that's why I got such bad responses just wandering around in the
Interesting.
streets.
Okay.
I have like kind of like a little bit pinkish but very light gray skin, and I'm dressed very monk-like with like a mohawk. I have a mohawk.
You have a mohawk.
Yeah,
Long
and I'm
or
like
short?
7.5 feet tall. My mohawk's pretty long.
Okay, 7.5 feet tall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mohawk adds another half foot, just so you know.
At least.
At least.
Wow.
Okay, that's a big person. Okay.
And I'm very androgynous looking to humans. Like most people can't tell because my clothes are kind of like loose and bulky, and I have like this like very like
I mean,
updone hairstyle.
orcs
and
are
people
animals
just, like,
anyway,
Kind
we
of just
can't
like
tell gender.
assume either way.
Yeah.
From a human perspective, I mean, just,
Yeah. Well, humans like wouldn't even care.
Yeah,
They
you're-
wouldn't really
you're-
look at me as a person, especially in Faustin. But like, there's
you're,
accepting
you're
humans, I'm
practically
sure.
cattle. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is kind of how humans see them. Like that's
Yeah.
terrible. No, I was like,
Unfortunately.
Can we say you've
We
taught
come
me
from
some
a better
Orcish
city.
words and I think I speak
I
Orcish
think.
now.
Definitely, you can learn. I'll teach you some work.
Met a
No, I
couple
just think I
half-orcs
speak
in the
it. I'm like,
pits,
like
so.
just like I think I speak halfling, which I don't.
So, you now find yourself after what seems to be hours, although it really wasn't that long, of traversing this like chaotic crowd. You're finally outside of sort of the docking port, and you find yourself on a street. And out in the distance, you can see that streets connect with other streets, and sometimes they are raised up and down almost like bridges,
Okay.
except that they connect certain switchbacks from
Like little shortcuts?
vertically. So think of the Hawthorne Bridge, except the Hawthorne Bridge would be there's a road below and a road above, and so occasionally one road needs to sort of like raise up and then let folks go up here, and then one road needs to
Like
basically
like
that's our stop.
river try like yeah.
And I can't necessarily explain right now like why that's necessary, but due to the construction of the city and the basin itself, it saves them resources big time to just use like one road to go up and down, up and down.
Okay.
And so you find yourself, waiting for the road, and right now I would like you to. So you're heading to, what's your shop's name?
The stepping stone.
You're heading to the Stepping Stone, right?
Because like
You're directing me.
yeah,
Oh yeah, you know where the Stepping Stone is.
I would say
except
only like sort of.
Sort of.
Well, to the
yeah.
extent
I
that
know,
a kid
like,
would know
how-
their way around.
I mean, I was here like
Yeah.
once before. It's been a while.
so what
You
I'd
were,
like
like, giving,
from
right?
you is I'd like
Like I know it's like over near that like landmark. Like I know it's near the. Are there any big landmarks that we've talked about? Like a bridge or
well, why don't you make one up? What would be a good landmark?
Ooh, yeah.
a big. Oh gosh, what do our clocks look like?
I would say,
Yeah,
it would
so
still
the-
be kind of standard. I mean, circular seems to be a pretty good thing. It would still like look like a clock, but
How about like 64?
Instead of
Or
3
60,
hour
not 64,
increments, it's
70.
in 5 hour increments.
How about like 70? Yeah.
so yeah, it kind of looks like then like a seven-sided, not to bring up like Rise of the Rune Lords, but almost like a seven-sided star with like 5 points in between each of them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it would be like 35 total, right? Like
Yeah.
hours, whatever that means.
Okay.
Word.
Yeah.
Now we know what a clock looks like.
Boom.
So
So
it's by a big clock.
and we'll say
Yeah,
that if people are referring to a clock, they normally refer to it as a star.
Can I just say, the shop is maybe by a big clock, but it's like, you've been there. So, okay, I was in Paris when I was 21, 20, anyway. And then I was in Paris like when I was like 25. And I like knew where things were based on like the clock, you know, the whatever.
Yeah.
But there's all these like intricate little streets and there's
Yeah.
like all these little lanes, and they all have their own story.
And I don't know the best way to get there. Yeah.
I'm just painting a
So
picture.
I'm seeing a big,
really, more
what do you
than
call
anything
big.
else.
I don't know what to call it. Like Big Ben, but like big.
There's like a just big clock somewhere.
Big Binkin.
How about, since we're in this crater semicircular-ish, it's not perfectly, but close enough, like, and the entire thing is city, right, all the way around.
Yeah. If you can imagine, like 6 miles one way, 5 miles the other.
So then, like, spaced out roughly, and it's not perfectly circular, but spaced out 7 clock towers along the rim,
Okay.
similar to the 7 hour points,
Okay.
or the 7 like 5-hour marks, right, all the way around the clock.
Do you have a preference as to which?
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, all I mean to
Clock
say
you're
is
next
like
to?
we're in a big enough city.
Maybe that helps with
the way
districts.
that I think about it, the way I'm imagining it, we're in
Oh
a
God,
big
we're in.
enough
Never mind.
city with enough commerce, with enough people that every little like neighborhood could be its own little city. You know, like
Yeah.
it's like little twists and turns, and maybe the shop is known, but you have to like know where you're going to get there. So you guys might be wandering around for a little bit. But you're
Do
like,
you have a number preference in terms of like which one you
No.
want to be near?
not at all. Just
I
in
want to say
terms
7.
of.
I want to say 7 just because.
I mean, I just know that they're like that we're in a more affluent.
So that'd be
neighborhood.
7/noon, right, like top of the star.
kind of yeah.
So that's pointing north.
Like we're a
North
shop.
and like
We're a shop that like maybe wouldn't get a lot of cred in a different part of town, but we're like in a nicer part of town. We're like
Right.
we're like the hipster pot shop.
So I
Do
would
you know what I
say
mean?
that
Like, we're like the-
7 would be that
Super.
best part of town.
7?
If it's
Where are we
north, and we're
docking?
presuming this is like the northern hemisphere where we are,
Mhm.
then that means the sun's gonna be further south, and we get the most daylight of the rim. Like
well, maybe
hitting there
so.
at the
Maybe
north
I'm used to
point, 7.
docking at a different point. I'm assuming the dock is at the top of the crater, like somewhere.
Mhm.
So I'm used to docking at a different point, and so I know you're near 7, but we're docking from a weird point, and I don't know exactly where to go. I
Which
know
is what
the
leads
general
me.
direction.
Which is what leads me to. I know that you see the towers and that you're familiar with where the stepping stone is in relationship to one of the towers, but it's just got a slight unfamiliarity to it, as to where you docked. Then I need you to make a survival check, and I want
rolling?
First roll.
and I need
We're
you.
not
Can you
rolling.
do it with advantage because I'm helping?
You said no
Or is that
punching,
no?
maybe.
I guess I don't know my way around.
Yeah, you guys are both kind of putting your heads together. So, who would like to roll given the best? Who's got the best
I have a
survival?
+3 to survival. What do you?
You're. I don't even know what my
Oh.
plus.
Are you proficient in survival?
No.
And
Definitely
then
not.
what's your wisdom?
My wisdom shit.
11.
That little.
Yeah.
So you are 0.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically you are both helping your each other out, trying to find
Right.
the stepping stone, and I need you to make a survival check at advantage because you guys are both helping each other out.
On it.
And what would that be?
So 13.
Okay, so a 13.
Pretty on par with where we're at right
Yeah,
now.
that's pretty perfect.
A 13 leads you to a reluctant young dwarf whom you talk into. You got a little turned around within one of the switchbacks that led into one of the kind of weird little like honeycomb pockets of neighborhoods within the caldera, and so you essentially asked for advice. And this young dwarf reluctantly gave advice. He seemed a little bit weird talking to you,
But he doesn't want to think of himself as racist.
but he
Sorry.
doesn't want to think of himself as racist. So he continues on with the
Keth is fairly oblivious to people acting like that towards him. I just want to make that clear.
Why is that?
Because he's been so secluded from people for a long time that he doesn't realize it's because he's a half-orc. He's kind of just more like, oh, this is how people outside are.
And to be fair, everybody's been
Impervious, I like
racist
that.
to
It makes
you.
you kind of impervious.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the
I'm just
standard.
like, everybody just acts like this. This is how people are
It's real
outside of
fucked up.
Kashar. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
You're
that's
a
like
li-
my
I like
opinion.
that.
You're a
kind of-
little numb to it.
Yeah, I'm just like,
Well,
oh,
not even,
people
like-
are rude, you know?
Yeah.
Like, this is not, they don't have the
I
same
like that.
customs as me. That's how I'm taking it. Like,
Yeah.
their customs
Yeah,
are different.
Yeah, I feel like you should get advantage
Barbarians.
of.
These are just
The
barbarians.
way they treat each other is different than us.
Right.
I like that.
Okay, so you, I would say within about 2.5 hours of like solid, like following the directions, asking around, but following landmarks, and really just maybe with the occasional stopping and like just taking in the city. 'Cause the city is quite beautiful. You finally get to the doorstep of the stepping stone.
which looks like this.
Oh, whoa, we don't run into anything?
Whoa.
We
That's
don't run
awesome.
into anything
Yeah.
on the
I
way?
just happened to be my doodle.
Very cool. Can I say like, oh, I remember that. I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
I remember that.
Yeah.
The
I
closer
want,
and closer
I
you
want
get.
a piece of. I'm hungry.
I'm gonna
Can you
use
give
some
me
Oh,
silver.
I was gonna bring that up. By the
Yeah.
time you get to the stepping stone, you are famished.
Okay.
Uh,
Is there any pie stands around? I like hand pies. Well, Keth doesn't know that yet, but he's about to find out if there's a
Those
pie
are really
stand
good.
that
We
he
should
really.
get one of those. Catfish.
as a matter of fact, there is a pie stand
This is gonna be like oh my
across the
goodness.
way
Salmon chowder.
that's built out of someone's house.
Okay.
And
Does it
um,
smell really good, Bill?
dude,
Yeah. Can I roll a smell check?
you don't need to. You don't need to.
Your chef skills are like, oh my god.
My god, what is that smell?
Yeah. Yeah, you almost immediately identify it as a sort of variant of Marionberry that exists within a certain patch of fungus that
Okay.
allows it to grow in the wintertime.
Oh, what?
So it's actually quite
I want that right now.
highly sought after within this area.
Fungus berry.
Interesting
awesome.
coincidence.
I feel like we should get
That
another.
they're right next to your
There's,
shop.
it's so good that we should
All
get
right, how
another
much are there? I'm
inspiration
gonna
check.
go. Yeah, I feel like
Inspiration
Bill
point.
should get an inspiration point for the pies. Well, I'm gonna go buy us both.
Be careful what
both a
you
hand
wish
pie.
for.
It's gonna get weird.
So so if you offer it's a silver piece basically for an entire pie, or if you just want a slice, that's like
They don't have little hand
This
pies,
is
but
where's
just
my hand
slices.
pie?
they have slices.
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna get a slice for both of us, and then I'm also gonna get a slice for Faerynn because my people believe that you bring a gift upon meeting people. So I'm gonna bring you a slice of pie as well because I'm like, this is dank.
I hope I'm home.
The dankiest.
Okay, so I just mark off 3 silver pieces.
You just you're getting a whole pie.
Yeah, I'll just buy a
Three
whole
whole
pie.
pies.
Sure.
So just one silver piece.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And you walk away with this
How do you
wonderful
get money?
Marionberry-esque background.
If you're an outlander, you also have
I have
a
a ton of money.
Oh, well, you have a shop, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna pretty much assume that you're responsibly loaded.
Whatever you need to pay for, you got the money for it.
I don't spend a lot of money either. So
That's how you stay loaded.
yeah.
So and this is a public shop, so it's not like you need to knock. The door actually is wide open. You walk in, and you see a couple of people milling about. Did you have any ideas of the personalities that exist in your shop, or did you want?
So I have like a mixed bag, but a lot of people are pretty affluent. A lot of people are on the upper rim, you know, and I get, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of people of privilege who like frequent my shop for sure for a lot of different reasons.
Affluent members of society.
Yeah, affluent members of society, and then people who know what they're looking for.
But
and
what
know where
about
to
the
get it.
people that actually work in your shop?
The people who actually work in my shop are like an eclectic small group of I wonder who are the people that work in my shop?
Well, I'll give you the first person that just came to mind.
Sounds great.
And that is a very, I don't know, in the realm of gnomes, in the realm of the mycognomes, this is certainly not uncommon to see a gnome that has an intense amount of growths all over their
It's
body.
a myco now?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And this myconome is very much so overgrown with growths that it actually encompasses mushroom growths. Yeah, it actually encompasses the entire left eye of his face, and it's actually prevented a lot, if not most, of his hair from just not growing. So there's just little tufts of receding hairline kind of in an awkward place in the back right of his head.
And we're talking about like shelf mushrooms, right? Like things that are kind of like just like across, like kind of growing up and out kind of idea.
Like not out like this, but shelves.
Yeah, not like a classic mushroom, but like
the
a
idea
flat.
of,
Like,
there's like a shelf.
you know,
mushroom.
This
about,
is
like,
one of the most unattractive, you wouldn't even call
it
it
doesn't
a
look good.
mushroom,
So
as
it's
much
not
as you
for
would call
anybody,
it a fungal growth. And this is not something that you want to look at. And this gnome comes about.
Hi, welcome to the stepping stone. How can I help you?
Keth is going to sit Indian style on the ground because that is how his people greet myco gnomes.
Can you say that?
Or sorry,
Crisscross applesauce.
Sorry, sit crisscross on the ground.
Crisscross
I'm sorry, guys.
applesauce.
Crisscross
Yeah.
applesauce on
Thank
the
you,
ground.
Blake.
In front of the myco gnome because orcs always get on their level before they do any trades with the myco gnomes, and is gonna say basically
And
like
he's followed you completely. Like the moment you started to go down onto your butt, it's almost like mirror image.
he sat too.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, well I'm very much larger than him.
Do you
And I'll
keep
say,
kneeling, like trying to get lower and
Yeah.
lower in the level?
No, I'll just be like, you have been chosen greatly by the Mycelian. It is good to meet you, sir.
It's a pleasure to see your kind around here. How can I help you?
I was escorting this young Sparky here. She's in search of
And
a
he
friend.
pulls out a lens to his one eye just to kind of get a better look at you.
Oh.
Hey, I should know your name.
Oh,
I've been in here.
janitor. It's good to see you again,
Jan.
little one. I apologize. I
Jan.
forget your
Jan,
name.
Etor.
It's Sparky. Or no. Oh. Well.
Yanagor?
I'm confused
Because
already.
I'm not using my normal name. So well,
Oh, sorry.
You don't
Did you
know
say that
your
loud?
name?
I'm not using my normal
What
name.
name did you tell me was yours? That's what I would have said.
I'm so
Sparky.
excited to
Oh,
meet my
okay.
janitor.
Jan Etor.
Oh, Yanator.
Jan
Okay.
Etor.
It's
Yanator.
This is not your janitor,
Got it.
but his
Just
name is
checking.
Janiger.
There we go.
Can you go meditate
Glad I could
for a
meta figure
second,
that out.
Keth?
Sure. Keth's very receptive to people. He gives you space.
My real name is Loom. Can you tell? Is Faerynn here? I need to see Faerynn really bad.
First of all, he doesn't react to your name. Second of all,
Yeah, it runs around. So, Loom, you said. All right. And your name?
Yeah.
Your name?
Oh, my name? Sorry, I thought you said you'll hang. Keth's my name.
Keth.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Keth.
That doesn't sound like a traditional or an orcish name. Is that short for something?
Kethkin, sir.
Oh, that's a beautiful name.
Thank you.
I'll go get Ren. Hold tight. Ren!
yeah, and awkwardly like turns around and just starts yelling your name really
Okay.
loudly. In the meantime, I'd like to open the floor as to maybe a couple other characters that you see within here. Does anybody have anything in mind?
This is mildly self-serving. On the way in, you noticed a woman out front of the shop, kind of like holding a shaped red piece of glass, kind of like a lens, and using it to kind of like angle the sunlight on the ground, kind of like around like a nice red spot. And there's a little cat kind of playing with it and running around.
I definitely noticed that.
Okay. Anybody else
On the way in,
want to create an NPC?
that was a PC, but it was pretty cool.
We've got several. We definitely got several of our like standard looky-loos in the shop that are like
Yeah, those in retail. I'm really curious.
that
how
are
you guys
like
think.
essentially the equivalent of like
Nobody
the yoga
It's through mushroom
moms.
retail. Oh yeah, what's your
Who are
yoga mom in a
involved.
mushroom shop?
Well, just like for those of us in new seasons, but like
Sedative.
you know,
Kombucha.
I'll translate it, but it's like the yoga moms that like wander around wellness. You know, like kind of like the like I'm gonna like create a big situation and like go to this space and like play this character looking at products. Anyway,
So this is not a person who works here; it's a person who shops here.
yes,
Got it.
there are several shoppers
Mhm.
who are like our bread and butter clientele that are loading up on like the next thing that's gonna like save their lives or their marriage or like their whatever.
The
Or
next
all
fad.
of the above.
And like my staff is like on point, you know, like they're
Mhm.
like really, really, really good at like working with whomever's in the shop. But there's
Selling
there's like a little gaggle. There's a gaggle in the shop of like, you know, maybe it's somebody's birthday, maybe they're all like coming in for like a fertility potion or something, or you know, whatever. That one you know, that one supplement that's gonna do it. So whatever.
Anti-vaxxers, like,
But they're
hanging
also,
out.
but it's also like, you know, it's like this one really like well-known shop in this neighborhood, and it's maybe a little tongue-in-cheek, a little like, oh, we're in the stepping stone. That's all.
Like
There's a gaggle of shoppers.
of obnoxious yoga moms.
Yeah,
Mhm.
All
basically.
named
I'll say that I'm talking to
They're
one of the
all
other
Brenda.
employees.
Karen.
And what do they look like?
I'll say that I was
Coming
kind
in
of
fucking
drawn
Ashley,
to.
that's
I heard a
fucking
whisper, and I hadn't heard it the
BFA.
entire time I've been in the city. And then I realized it was mushrooms from the Kashar forest, and I could hear them, like, but just barely. And so I went over to check them out. And one of the employees walked up to me, and we started chatting about mushrooms. And I'll say it's a human woman, and I was kind of shocked by her, like, just like very like forward friendliness, like just very like, oh hey, how's it going? Like, what can I get started for you? Like, what do you need help with? Do you want any information type thing? You know, just that, but not like the fake customer servicey, just like the very like you can tell as a person who's just like stoked to be
Genuine.
what they're doing, like genuinely just like, I love mushrooms. Let's talk about them.
Like Bill in fucking produce.
I have been known to be that genuine. Although,
Yes, I was
although,
actually
Long
kind of
ago.
thinking-
although nowadays I'm a little bitter.
All of my employees are that genuine, by the way.
Yeah, like she's stoked to be here, and she's stoked to talk to me about mushrooms, and I don't feel like she's like standoff. Like, I don't feel any weird standoffishness like I felt with other people.
Right.
So this person, I'm just like finally like just actually chatting, and I've been pretty quiet for the most of the
Yeah.
rest of the time I've been in the city.
Yeah, and I will say that she, in addition to that, has kept your attention the entire time while Janiger has run off to retrieve
Ashley.
his
My glass.
boss. So, oh my god.
There you go.
Just drink champagne out of it if you want.
I thought it was, for a second I thought you poured yourself some Old Crow and then took a shot of Old Crow and chased it with Old Crow.
Yes.
I was like, wow, bold
That is
move.
exactly what happened.
The Crow winning.
I was gonna pour it into the Rainier because I didn't have a glass. I don't know what happened to it.
Do you want my glass? I only drink
It
champagne
went
out
over
of it,
here
but
with
if
your
you're
other
allergic,
your
that's
other
fine.
remnants. Nope, done.
I don't need.
So,
I
and
have oh,
one second.
Hang
So, do you want to create an NPC? Someone in the shop that you see, and I'm specifically looking for like people who work in the shop.
Oh,
Okay.
I have one of those too. Go ahead.
Okay.
in the shop.
Sorry.
I feel like. Oh God, what's a good like? Is there? Could there be a like kind of gag section of the shop, or is that too? Is that too?
A gag section?
Like one that makes you like you can like put in other people's things. That's not
yeah,
like
no,
not really.
this is a hipster store.
Okay.
This is like real nice shit, and even if it's not, it's it's marketed to look really nice.
Okay.
You're
I want
paying
somebody who
$40 for a piece
recognizes
of
me,
driftwood.
basically. I
Yeah.
want somebody who recognizes, hey,
Okay.
kid, like,
Okay.
it's
We're
been a
making
while
money.
since you've been in here. What are you doing here? And maybe I'm trying not to be seen until I see Faerynn. Like,
Yeah.
I need to confess to Faerynn that I have these powers. And so,
Okay.
and I'm like, hey,
So-
can you find Faerynn for me?
What
Fair fixes
race
problems.
do you feel like this person is?
Dwarf.
Okay.
Dwarf.
I want there to be tieflings somewhere.
Oh yeah, have we even talked about TV?
We have not.
I have an idea for that.
Okay, cool. We don't have to get into it right now. I just
Uh,
I want tieflings to.
yeah, a dwarf. Who's in the? What are some sections? Give me some sections
Sections of what?
of the store.
Of the store?
Antioxidant.
So like,
the whole section.
think about like an herbalist meets like a dispensary, right?
Okay.
So you've got
I'm looking
like,
for a little more
Recreation.
CBD
you've
versus
got
medicinal.
your essential oils, and you've got
your
your
Okay, this
You know.
dwarf is I'm gonna say looks like a big old bear of a dwarf.
Hairy.
Very, very hairy, like practically has hairs on the palm of his hands.
Yeah.
And at the same time has those eyes that are just like perma stone.
Like kind of recognizes me, but doesn't know quite who.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
But
Right.
that's the thing, though, is that's what's counter to this dwarf's general affect, is that their memory is whip snap accurate. And he says, Lumi! Ah! Come here and give old Caleb a hug.
But it's like a 2-minute hug, right? like a real pull 'em in, smell your hair.
Oh, this
whisper
is
sweet nothings.
This is
in your
the
ear,
this is
like, I
the
love
if
you.
our hearts don't
Yeah.
meld together Oregon Country Fair.
Yeah.
You have to hug both ways, symmetry, so both hearts get.
Yeah. Yep.
That's really important.
Yep. This arm has to be below, but this arm has to be above. He's just short enough that you guys can get a really solid, nice, even hug in, and he just hugs you for a good 45 seconds.
I feel like I
was
deserve an
uncomfortable,
inspiration
5
point from
seconds.
this hug. It's so good.
That's
fine, that's a lot for you.
I'm digging. I'm digging for.
No, but that's good. If you feel like you deserve an inspiration point, please pipe up because I might
I'm gonna
say
do
yes.
that a lot.
Okay, cool.
I deserve inspiration.
And the
Sparky is
only
fun.
thing that punctuates this hug in terms of what would be considered dialogue is this. Inside your ear as you're just like embracing this big bear dwarf.
And like a little bit of a chest rumble, like.
Better. I'm feeling better than when I talked to Janicor or Jenna.
Jennicor.
Janicor.
Uh-huh.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Genesequa.
So,
And he says,
he
Where are your parents?
That's the thing. I
And who's
really
this
need
one?
to talk to Faerynn. And can you hold it on the loom? I think I'm gonna. I need to have a well-known.
At this point,
name.
I'm paying attention. I would
You-
be like,
Have you run away from home?
again.
Please don't tell anybody. Please don't tell anybody. Can you just get Faerynn, please?
make a persuasion check.
Oh yeah.
Because he's clearly
yes,
concerned
please.
for your well-being.
My persuasion is
Charisma.
fucking good.
Yeah, it
Yes.
is. Oh, it's one of your ones you're good at.
Go for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
get it.
yeah, either one.
And he's trying to.
You know, if I don't tell your parents, then A could happen, and then it could
Yeah,
turn over to
could be
B,
bad.
and then
Could
C.
be
He's
bad.
giving you
Yeah.
all of these
And he's getting kind of paranoid stones. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's yeah.
At this
15 plus 6.
Okay. What do you say to convince him to ixnay on the
Real convincing.
outing a?
Hey, Latin.
I know that was horrible. But
Hey.
Well,
You're
I'm-
Canadian.
I'm gonna say
different.
when you
Right.
said this one, I walked over. So I don't know.
What
Yeah.
was that?
Whenever you said who's this one, I think I would have walked over to see what was going on.
okay. And what
But
do you,
I'm
what do you,
not,
what do you say in that
gonna
moment
stop you
right
from
before
whatever you're
Keth enters the scene?
I'm here with my caregiver. It's okay. I'm here. I gotta get stuff for my dad. I'm here for my
My
dad.
responsibility.
with kids, sir.
And he says,
I need.
I seriously doubt that your parents would let you go gallivanting off with.
Cat.
Ooh.
Great with kids.
Half tusks.
I do have half tusks.
No, I'm saying
and
that's
he
the
stops.
slur.
He stops
Oh.
midway.
Oh.
He
Right.
composes his sort of etiquette around the situation because you know kind of where he was about to go.
Yeah.
And then he says,
I'm not gonna just.
My concern for you is great, but if you say that you're okay, you're okay.
Okay, so
I need help. I'm not gonna be a deceiver. I just can't do it. I'm just I'm
and
so genuine.
that's when
and, I
Faerynn
bat my
walks
eyes.
through the threshold of the back of the door.
Are you
You're
neutral,
really busy today.
Oh yeah.
This is actually in your mind in this moment
sounds so awesome.
kind of an ordeal for you. You know, it's
I don't
it's
even think it's an ordeal.
like-
It's on the periphery.
What is?
Oh, you got to talk to these folks, and I'm doing 20
It's an
things in my
inconvenient.
head.
yeah, like it's
I'm not. I mean, it's on my periphery. I'm not there. I'm just also 20 other places.
Right.
Can I just
That's all.
run at you and throw my arms around you and you're like,
Yeah.
yeah.
so.
yeah.
Let me tell you what you know about Lumi.
Okay.
So first of all, you know Lumi's parents.
Okay.
Lumi's parents is part of the Hollow family within Fallenstein. They are a family of necromancers.
Okay.
Very well respected necromancers. The kind of necromancers that people go to commune with the dead.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of like part of their family lineage. It's what they do. And at the same time, they don't do it for just anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're very, very cut and dry in terms of who they do business with.
Mm-hmm.
Brutus Hollow is Lumi's father, and Angelica July is her mother. She never took the father's name because you could probably tell there's a lot of pride in both their family names, so she sort of like kept that separate.
Mm-hmm.
So you know their parents by name. You've interacted with them a lot, and you've interacted with Lumi again using the word periphery, kind of on the periphery. You know, Lumi's been in the store and shopping, and occasionally you've had to stop and kind of like entertain.
And I'm feeling way more familiar than you are. I'm assuming.
And that's a really good point to bring up. So probably the massive hug around your thigh is probably a little shocking to you.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I want to say that, like, as an ambient element, like, every once in a while you're hearing, like, a chop, 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 silent, whoosh, like, old kind of giggle from the back. And as you hug her, you kind of see into the back of the shop, and there's an older tiefling woman sitting there, like, just, like, chopping mushrooms up into powder and then kind of feeding it into, like, the fire / like, the dehumidifier to kind of, like, dry it up.
Is this an employee?
Another NPC that you have in the background.
Okay.
But it's just kind of like this background. You're just like, what
Why
the fuck
is
is this
she
cacophony?
laughing?
She really enjoys the fire. Who knows? Oh, and her tail.
But
whips.
this person
The
works
fumes.
for me.
Yeah, her
the
tail whips in
fumes.
the background.
Okay,
she's
got
just she's prepared foods behind the counter.
Got it.
There you go.
Hell
I
yeah.
also have a GM that I will talk about whenever you're ready. But
A general
GM.
manager.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Game master.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Like
you're
everyone
talking
thought
about...
game
Because
master.
I'm
and
not.
I was
I'm
like,
not. I just the owner. Like
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
shit isn't on
Is
me.
this
I
a,
need to be
I
on the
want this
field.
GM to be very cathartic for you.
I wanted to use the Bette Midler line of like, enough about me. Let's talk about you. What do you think of me? No, go ahead. Talk. So the GM of
So my
the Stepping Stone.
GM of the Stepping Stone, her name is
So you're franchised?
wait, what is it?
Frank,
She had it.
Fair.
Well, anyway, we call her Des. And imagine like kind of like an Enid from Ghost World, but like who is like actually very invested and interested in all the products that we like are subscribing to.
Okay.
So it's kind of like that apathetic, like kind of like dark humored, dry, you know.
So I'm sorry. She is what
She's
race?
a half elf.
Half elf. Got it. Thank you.
And just kind of like the reluctant den mother to like everybody, but also everybody's really great, everybody's really tight. She's actually like, she actually is allowed to not be as cold as she usually is to the outside world because she really loves all the employees also. But it's a real mixed bag if you haven't gathered. But she's like, she is the brainchild to why the Stepping Stone works.
what
Like
race
all
is she?
half elf.
Half elf.
So all Faerynn does
I'm sorry,
is
what race is she?
Faerynn owns the shop. Faerynn
I asked too.
is the breadwinner in terms of like going out and finding the shit that makes the shop great. But the other side of that is Des, and Des runs the shop. Des is the bookkeeper.
So I
Des
hate to put a bit of a creative
Pin.
kibosh to the
Yeah.
name, but I'm gonna name her if you don't
Sure.
mind. Do you mind?
no, it's fine.
I'll pick something with D.
Well, Des was a nickname.
Bill will give it the D. It's fine.
Oh, really?
Dude, it's not low enough fruit, thank you. I see you're like rolling your eyes at me from
It's
the side.
rotten. It's
Nah,
rotten on the
no,
ground.
it's pretty good.
It's okay.
What?
Pretty
It's
solid.
not that bad.
We're just gonna have a contentious, like, I'm gonna make dick
No,
jokes
it's
occasionally,
pretty
and
rotten.
then she's gonna roll
It's
her
rotten.
eyes.
No, it's not. It's not just the dick.
Mhm.
It's not
That's
the
To be
not-
dick.
fair,
that's not
I
the
made
only
it, I
jokes
made
I
a,
make.
a D joke first.
Was
I've
there
not
was
heard
there
it.
an
Yeah.
opportunity that
Thank
just
I don't
It's not the
remember.
fact that it's a dick
Something very
joke. I'm
similar,
good
yeah.
with dick
Flaccid, it was a
jokes.
flaccid
I'm
D
good
joke.
with dick jokes.
That's a double dick joke.
You know this is going in the thing, right?
Oh my god.
I have not. I guess it's the only time I've talked about genitals all night. So yeah.
Tonight.
Tonight.
At least once per night.
a lot
The
of
other
pressure.
day, my manager was saying something. I
You
both
just don't
thought
like the
he was a
name?
dick, and
So
without
what-
thinking, I was like,
what
well,
did you
the
say? You said
cock ring fits.
Diz?
And I was like,
Des.
Des?
and I was like, I was just joking.
That still works.
That's my manager.
Yeah, it's short for Dyson.
Great.
So many
He
thumbs
took
up
it
for
really
that.
well. Like it was.
He took that really well.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
did you draw,
De-
did you
Just
draw a
laughed it
picture of
off.
this? All I'm saying is, you
He's
know,
really chill. He
there's
makes
like
bad jokes.
the only reason the stepping stone is what it is
Another thing I don't
is
understand.
at least halfway
Wow.
because of Des.
Okay. So
Like Faerynn doesn't run the stepping stone. Faerynn is like the life force of the stepping stone, but Des like
Yeah.
pulls it all together.
So Des, as you're coming out, and all of a sudden, Lumi just sort of like latches onto your thigh, and you're just like, hi. And Des just kind of leans in and whispers to your
Like, is this cool?
into your ear. No, not. She doesn't care if it's cool. She just is like, we have a serious amount of work to do. Can you please hurry up?
Right. Got it.
And then she leans in even further, like almost
Right.
uncomfortably in your ear. A serious amount of work.
That's Des's job. It's cool. So, I mean, I look down at Lumi and I recognize Lumi. And like my brain had been all of these other places, and I'm like, oh, hey,
Work.
hey,
Work,
you.
work that I need your undivided
I know.
attention.
But I know this person. And
You
And
know
I'm
a
still
lot of
so desperate. I'm like,
Okay,
I know.
and she like walks back into
Right.
the workroom, and you can hear very heavy footfalls
Right.
upstairs.
That's what I pay her for.
Yeah.
For temper tantrums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need you to step harder.
Yeah, absolutely. She's
So,
my fucking GM.
How many minutes are you latched down to Ren's thigh?
I'm like pulling you down. I'm like,
Mhm.
I need help. I need help. I need help. I need help. I know you helped my dad.
Mhm.
Get boners. I
Everything
know you helped my
okay?
dad.
Everything okay, Ren?
Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
And I'm gonna.
How can I help
Sparky,
you?
Sparky, careful. You're gonna pull her clothes off. His clothes off.
No.
Wait, what is your character?
What?
Is your character? What's your character's gender? I'm just curious.
Male.
Okay.
Mhm.
Sorry.
Mhm.
I have
What do you
something I have to tell you. Faerynn. Can I?
By the way, as Lumi is like pleading with you, and clearly like has probably been holding in a lot of this maybe
Mhm.
anxiety and like letting it all out right now. The hairs on your arm are clearly standing up,
Mm-hmm.
and there's something about touching Lumi that is very uncomfortable. Something
Okay.
that you haven't really felt
Mm-hmm.
a lot of in
Okay.
And I'm assuming you're noticing my dad's not here.
Yeah.
And there's a half
Okay.
orc hanging
So
with me.
I'm gonna just like
Where's your adult?
Faerynn just like seeks to calm you, maybe brings you over into a corner, like maybe feels the sensations and like feels like, oh, that is unchill. So like maybe just like brings out like a lotion or something and is like and it's talking to
Mushroom
you.
infused.
CBD.
No, and it's talking to you.
CBD.
Could be mushroom.
What's
I feel like
what's talking to her?
I like Faerynn is talking to Lumi,
Got it.
brings Lumi over to a corner, takes what's his name?
Keth.
Do you think
Takes
Keth
Keth
should-
over to a corner. Like I bring you guys
should
over
come,
into like a
yeah.
sitting space of the shop. And I absentmindedly like sort of like put some lotion in my hand and I like and then I like and I'm talking to you and I'm like, oh like where like what I can't believe you're here. Like how is your dad? And I'm like rubbing it on your arms, like just like sort of like soothing you, like you're hugging me, I'm soothing you with this lotion.
How tall are you?
Wait, I know this. I'm 5'9". I'm like 6 foot.
6 foot?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
compared to yeah.
do you want to describe your general affect to people that haven't heard it yet? Because we heard a lot about you as a personality, but we haven't heard any physical.
I'm tall. I mean,
No.
I'm tall. I'm slim.
Gold.
I have a slight like hump on my back that is covered by like I think I'm wearing a vest, like because I'm like in the city. It's summer. I'm wearing a big vest that like drapes down. That and it because of the hump, it looks like I'm hunching, but I'm not actually. It's just sort of like this subtlety.
And the reason why I bring that up is a couple of reasons, but one of the reasons is because as Keth is sitting down, it occurs to you like Keth is the exact same height as you while Keth is sitting down on the
My
bench.
mohawk is probably.
And it's just like you almost like in mid conversation you're rubbing lotion and like you kind of stop and just marvel at that just for a second.
And just to be clear of what you're marveling at, I'm also sitting there and I pulled plates out of my bag and I'm cutting pieces of pie for the two of you while you rub lotion.
And-
so that's
and
what I'm doing.
So
And
you're
this
on.
is very surreal because like I'm rubbing this lotion that is creating a calming, at least a calming effect for me. Like my hair was standing on end, and I'm feeling a little better about this, and like I'm bringing us into a safer space, and like we're chatting, and like effectively this lotion's supposed to like chill you out or whatever. And
feel
like
like you
you're
would
cutting,
know.
you're cutting this pie.
That smells great.
And it's my favorite pie from down the street, and I'm kind of doing a double take. Like I'm like, this is weird. Like, you know, like why is this orc who I've never met that's like really fucking tall? Like that's kind of throwing me off. Like Lumi isn't throwing me off as much as like because I'm like, oh, this is like something in my control. As like this is a person I've met before. To like, who the fuck is this person? And like, pie? What is happening? Like,
I'm also imagining customers watching you, like you're on your knees behind a young
Potentially,
halfling, rubbing them
like
down
maybe
with
a
lotion
couple
while another's cutting
senior
some
workshop.
pie.
Yeah.
Seems a little weird.
Maybe one or
it's
two.
true.
Yeah.
It's true.
And I will say that there are one or two customers that you have to cleverly and charismatically fend off because once they see you on the floor, they're like, "Oh, I want
you're
to talk to
the-
Faerynn.
right.
Like you are a star."
What is this mushroom? I found this thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know that there are customers that think that you know more than your sales staff and they will not believe your sales staff and instead go directly to you if they see them.
So meta customer service going on right now.
Can I just say, if I see this happen once or twice, I'm just gonna use my size and just kind of stand in front of them.
And do you know what I do? So who's what's his name?
Like I'm not
Like,
gonna be
Janet-
threatening. I'm
This
just gonna
section
stand
is
there and like.
closed.
Janiger.
Yeah.
Janiger. So what I do,
Okay,
one
well, maybe
way
not
that I
really.
just defer is I'm like, oh, Janiger can help you. I actually learned everything I know from Janiger. You know what I mean? Like Janiger taught me everything I know. Like
Yeah.
I will often feed people that line, even though like it's true or not true or whatever, because like I know Janiger knows everything I know.
I feel like
Right.
Janiger should have a really bad vision.
They walk away. They're like,
Well, he
I know,
clearly
Bill
exactly.
already said that he does.
Oh,
He
he
already-
already, he clearly has really bad vision. He holds a monocle
Oh, right,
up
you're right.
Yeah.
occasionally just to get a good look at like
his depth
something.
perception's terrible.
Oh, horrible, horrible.
Non-existent.
Yeah, I'm like, not.
He's almost clicking in the dark.
No, he's not.
I'm
Okay,
gonna make Last of Us references.
So yeah, as you're, and then there's just this random cackle from the back room, like.
Like
I
a
love
whoosh.
Yeah.
It's important.
Thanks. Yes.
But,
Maybe
but-
that's some folly in.
Customers are milling
You like
about.
it?
They've stopped trying to harangue you due to the size of Jesus Christ. What is this thing?
And I'm not doing it like a threatening way. Like
Yeah.
I'm not doing it to like deter people. I was just in my mind doing it to block their like people's vision from them.
Yes.
But people are looking at me and not wanting to walk past.
You
know?
built
Like,
you built a wall.
Maybe, and
You're
also,
innately
like, there's also
threatening.
been a certain,
Yeah.
like, you have a sense of, like, I'm about to say something. I haven't told you my whole story.
Right, I'm just
about
trying to
tell,
give
like,
you privacy,
we've gotten to the,
essentially.
and you're just standing, maybe you're just blocking the view.
Yeah,
Like,
basically
period.
that's what I'm
Like, you're
saying.
just-
I'm
you're
just
just
blocking
yeah.
everybody so you can't see.
So what are you saying now to
Give you some space.
Faerynn?
I have these powers that I didn't know I had, and I think I might have hurt somebody really bad, and I hurt my brother, and I think my parents hate me, and I need help, and I need you to get rid of the powers. I need you to help me. I need you to help me. I don't know what to do.
Okay. Cool. I mean,
Meaning,
think
I
I
didn't
just-
tell you I ran away, but that's
Right.
probably
I'm like-
assumed, yeah.
do your parents know you're here? I mean, okay, so you're here. Your parents aren't here. You need help.
I can't go back. I can't go
Okay.
back. I just want you to.
What exactly is going on? Like, what powers are you having a
I
problem
think
with?
I electrocuted a kid. He was a jerk, but I think I electrocuted him. I don't know.
That
I
may
don't know if
explain
he's
why
even
your
still alive.
hairs are standing straight up on both of your arms.
Yeah.
And you're like
Ooh,
maybe
just-
pull it
Alright.
back.
So you smell a little ozone.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's a little lessened
air
ever
is
since,
really fresh,
ever since
though.
you put the lotion
Yeah.
on the kid.
Lotion on the kid.
So are you?
That'd be
Okay.
another shirt.
No.
Sparky doesn't know.
So I think I'm just like, okay, like let's chill out. Let's chill out. Are you hungry? He's your friend. Hi, I'm Faerynn.
Keth.
Kath,
Nice to meet
Nice
you.
to meet you. You brought some pie. Do you want some pie? Let's eat some pie.
Hey, how do you feel about orcs?
I feel fine about orcs. I'm more just like I'm feeling like
You
this
know
is
me
an
orcs.
unusual situation. Like this isn't something that happens every day. Orcs don't come into my shop. Like it's not like
You actually rarely, if ever, see orcs.
exactly. So but I see orcs like off in the field, you know, like I'm like out and I see orcs, but I'm like
You actually know
I'm
a neighbor or
thinking-
two that employ a couple.
but like for me I'm like has
If
an
you've
orc
been-
has an orc ever been in my shop before? It's
Yeah.
like that's like what I'm feeling more. It's like not it's not like an animosity
the big
or
city?
anything towards
Drink.
orcs.
Cheers.
I don't have anything.
Also, I want to say that like being inside the shop is a little uncomfortable for you, because like since space, like this is a vertically built city, like vertical space is kind of at a premium. So like your hair is actually like brushing a little bit of the ceiling occasionally.
Kind of figured.
Like it's not
Very
normal.
nice.
It's not
I like
normal
that.
heights,
I
right?
like the
Yeah.
vertical space.
Well,
That's
I
good.
It's, it's a premium, right?
I
Like,
think
makes a lot
Faerynn
of
feels
sense,
like
right?
you know, like I'm like this is unusual. It doesn't usually happen. I'm kind of stoked that this is happening, you know, but like I'm also like
Well, because maybe you're like I feel like you're so used to things going kind of like
If
you're
you've
so
been-
smooth. Like it's not a little change in.
yeah, I'm just like, oh,
Yeah.
well, that's different.
If you've
you
been
know,
to
Oh,
Kashar before, would you know that I'm from there?
if I what?
If you've been to Kashar
True.
before, would you know that I'm from there?
Probably
Good-
from
yeah.
like
Actually, I'd like you to roll a history check if you could, please.
okay.
I feel like you're unless you're just having a bad day.
There's also dice on the.
I know.
Okay.
I mean, I knew, but I
It could be
didn't
your
know.
little-
Dude, I don't think my fucking phone was sweaty. I think my phone is like chalky dry.
Mine feels
Were your
right
knees
too,
weak?
but mine might be sweaty.
It's making you uncomfortable.
Were, were your knees
It's
weak?
a 3.
Mom's
It's a 3?
spaghetti.
Um,
Oh god.
What is it?
Oh, it's
So-
an Eminem song.
So I'm gonna say that that you actually don't recognize
It's that
Keth
stare.
from the nomadic orc tribes. As a matter of fact, you're almost confident that Keth is from somewhere in the Kashar Forest, but in terms of like which tribe,
Right. No idea.
you have no
That's
idea.
what I meant, just more like a vague, like,
Yeah.
oh,
I'm
you're
more
from
curious
there.
about like why there's like this pie and like what's going on in relation to you.
How did we end up together?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
what the
like-
fuck is going on? But like,
And
but
do
like
I-
not
maybe
alarmed.
a little bit like, do I need
Just
to
sort of
worry
like,
about
this is surreal and
Like,
weird.
I mean, I'm not liable yet. What's
Yeah.
happening? Yeah.
Mhm.
Alright, cool.
And let's see. I'm going to the next next thing that's going to happen is basically you and
Alright.
Ferg.
Would it be a good time to take a break anyway for the video's sake, or
Walking
not
walk.
really?
No, not really. Do you need to go to the bathroom?
I mean, I could be.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
go for it.
I
a
probably
good time.
should because it's gonna yeah.
Yeah,
do it.
it's a good time.
Pee break.
I won't necessarily pause the video, but
This is gonna go part of our pee break
Alright, actually,
montage.
maybe I should. Oh yeah, I
Sorry,
figured out
I
what I
made
was
it
doing.
perfect.
In my
No,
mind, I was hitting start record, and it kept saying it doesn't recognize the IRL. Check the source. And
In,
blah, blah,
in
blah.
real life.
And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I realized that I wasn't clicking start record. I was clicking start stream. And I don't.
Oh.
A, I don't have that set up at
Yeah.
all, and B, we're
Yeah.
not streaming. Period. So.
When we'll
One day.
One day. Yeah, no, it's.
Which
We
If
won
you're
the
high enough
campaign.
tier.
Either one actually. Just make sure if you go upstairs to get
I'll go opposite of whatever Ashley
It is very warm.
Actually,
I feel kind of bad now. I was like, I have to go pee right now.
It's fine. We didn't do anything.
yeah, please.
Sorry about that, Bill. My bladder was just like, nope.
No, that's fine. Actually, the next thing we're gonna do is introduce both you and Will's character. So,
Sweet.
so prepare yourself.
Meeting in bars in the dark of the night.
Right.
Mhm.
All right. How are things going so far?
Good.
So much fun.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I didn't know the stepping stone was gonna be such a hot spot.
I didn't either, and I'm really glad that it is.
Yeah. Like, it's basically the center of where this starts.
Yeah. God damn, my body hurts so bad.
Your what?
Body hurts so bad.
Yeah, I just want
Did
my-
you love Bright Bush though?
I did, yeah, but it all got kind of ruined when I helped Jill move the couch yesterday, and it's just it's just been shitty ever since. Yeah. So. All right. We're about to come in. That's real exciting.
She's like my red glass playing with the cat.
She laser beam? You mean a laser pointer?
Yeah. Yeah, and?
No, I just thought it was really cute.
Yeah, thanks. I'm gonna magic the fuck out of this. / science.
Yeah.
Magic science.
Magic science, magic. I'm a fucking wizard, goddammit. I haven't been a wizard forever. For reasons, because it makes
When's the last
too
time
much
you were a
like me.
wizard?
2004.
It's a long time ago.
So I won. You're saying I won. Were you just yelling to the darkness because you thought I was around the house?
Like, I am the fastest peer, and I have a wider stream than you. You were already inside.
I have the widest of streams. Let it be known.
Don't cross them.
Thank you. Sometimes you won.
Yeah, highly unlikely. I'm just saying.
I don't know. I mean, all I know is when like somebody asks for a god, you say yes.
It's a Ghostbuster reference.
Oh God,
Causing
yeah.
the P streams, but also
I would like.
Oh.
I have a
Ghostbuster.
Gozer. I have a Gozer character in my novel. But, by
Is
the
it
way,
not that
I
Gozer?
mean, no, it's not a Gozer at all.
No,
It's just
no,
like
no,
a myconome. I've myconomes I've been using in my story for like over a year now. Or like, so, did I say that, or is that something we came up with? Like, what? How did
That was
come
something we
about?
came up with separately. That was
Okay.
something that Bill
'Cause I've
brought
been
up in
thinking
terms of
about,
like a gnome parasitic, or not
Okay, 'cause
parasitic,
I've
but
been,
like
talking
aggressive
about that,
symbiotic.
like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
it was
brought
an
up too, though.
unconsensual mill.
I did.
That the
At
mic
first.
that the myco the
It's
the
perfect.
mycelium made with the gnomes.
And it's like it's when Bowen was having his
Yes.
Well, I
Added.
think I made that event before the session before Bowen, but then Bowen
No.
built. No, it was like that session.
Oh, hold on.
I think
I think it was
myconomes were
before.
at the end of the session.
Yeah,
and
because
I
the
wasn't
Bowen said he
there.
thought about a lot about it. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I've been,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
I
just
keep
wanna make
trying to
sure,
find
like,
the
I
issue
don't
of Rat Queens that
I'm sure I've
has
had this thought
the
for a while,
Myconage and
I
the
don't
Myconome
see
in
what
it.
shit.
My friend
I really don't care,
Anna,
honestly.
I had
I'm
some
just
today
all about
was
the
telling me
game,
about
like,
Rat
it's
Queens, and,
entertaining,
like, my
entertaining,
character
it's
connects a
not-
lot with like the
I
one who's
just
like
mean,
just
like,
takes like mushrooms and has like a pouch and then she like gives them out to people.
Online.
I'm like,
Yeah.
Because Marshall's
Yeah,
too.
so-
Except
Good connection.
Yeah,
she's
I'm gonna.
a
This is my
halfling.
solemn promise
Doesn't
to you.
matter, yeah.
I will never
Not the
have to
important
deal
part.
with that with you. Like I'm never gonna like accuse you of like stealing
Look at
any
this
material from me.
sweet
I will.
photo I
Just
took
fucking
of
run with it.
Anna
It's
and
fine.
I
Leslie
don't
there.
really have like, because I
Oh
love
my god,
like,
they're so
Myco,
cute.
like Myco.
I've never met
Myco
Leslie.
Nid.
Yeah.
She's adorable.
Myco Nids, Myco
She
Gnome.
looks
It's such an
adorable.
easy, like, why has
Where
that not been
are
a
you?
thing
The
already?
slammer.
Yeah, I know.
I've
Right.
never been. Oh, with the tacos.
Yep.
Nope.
No.
Oh,
Yeah.
beer.
It's very
What am I doing?
inexpensive
I
though.
would
That's
like
all you need to know.
I got two Rainiers. I would like my second.
It's $1.
It's in there somewhere.
PBR.
Nice.
Towards the bottom,
I
middle,
mean,
maybe.
a small one.
Middle.
Oh, yeah.
About middle.
Like
There's
not
like,
on happy
you gotta
hour.
bend over.
Yeah, just
Bend over. I was really
Unless-
Oh, it's
Um,
really back there. Yeah, I see it now.
It's not on Southeast 12th.
Is there a
and Sandy.
light beer back there as well that I might snag?
I have more.
Cute.
I have warm old Germans in my bag.
Newcastle.
I have an old German.
I'll do old German.
Middle.
I don't know why Newcastle seems
But they
terrifying
have-
to me.
they have, like,
Yeah,
I don't want to
very
burn right
rich,
now.
so it's
Yeah,
actually-
Yeah.
I mean, for brown
lights
notes, definitely lighter.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to
Yeah.
brown it right now.
Oh, no, no.
I'm working my way through a
I
celebration,
like,
so
what you get.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Can I have
Thanks for the
can I
OG.
have the brown?
I'm real excited to meet you. I've heard so much about Ferg.
I
How
feel
are
like
you gonna be
Ferg is
coming
going
in
to
a
be
situation?
really like
I don't know. What,
close to just
Okay.
me.
I'm gonna have this one. That's all I need.
Yeah, that's you all are. You all are that, including myself. I guess I really am that. I am.
I mean, every character I
Thanks,
play
Sparky.
is either something that is an element of myself I want to exaggerate, or a piece that I see myself not being that I want to like
Yeah,
explore.
that's that's not. I don't know what I'm doing.
It's actually
Doesn't
shitty.
matter.
I'll get you what happens.
I always like.
This
I
is
have this
my
image of my character,
13
but I know she's not going to be that.
Thorn.
I get
I'm
myself
excited to
stars
see
on my
like
21st
3 or
birthday
4
training
episodes down the way,
flyers,
like
so I'm
what
And I feel
what
like
gets
that-
peeled
Does
away.
anybody
and
actually
what
have
should
the opener
I'm
that's
really
down
bad.
here? Does
Well,
anybody
I
have
don't
the
know
opener
what
that's down
works
here?
Is that not the opener there that's down here?
It's
doesn't
the
work?
shitty one.
I can do it.
No, that's all I've seen.
I mean,
that's
I
the
can
one I
do
used
it.
a moment
It's
ago.
just a pain in the butt. I have this opener that actually works backwards, where it kind of. What's that?
Backwards.
By the way, does anybody have a particular time limit for tonight when they need to leave? Because I'm doing great. I'm real clear.
I'm
I
worried
don't
about
work tomorrow, and
Shayna,
I also
actually.
my class
Are you
is
okay?
over, so
Shanna.
Really? Do I really have to... Did I fuck that up?
Yeah,
Fucking
real,
ass.
You fucked it up, Walter.
It
real
doesn't
hard.
really
Shanna.
matter, but
No, it
Shayna's
does
like
better than
absolutely
banana.
fucking matter. If somebody called me Ashley, I'd be pissed.
Ashley all the fucking time.
People say
Um,
Ashling.
Ashley, I get called Ashley. I
You
get
do
called
not get called
Aisling,
Ashley. You actually get
Aisling,
called Ashley?
Aisling, all different kinds of stuff.
I have been recording this.
I do not work on Fridays.
You just seem kind of like, I don't know if you're full in Faerynn or if you're just I'm
I don't know.
I'm concerned about
I've
you're
been
just
emotionally all over the place, so I'm trying to be more balanced, which means just more bland in general. I
I'm
don't
just
know.
checking in. Are you okay? You good?
No,
You're not okay.
but I am okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
I'm
I,
fine.
I sense that, and I just
No,
want to
I
check
don't
in,
mean to
if
be
you,
like.
I want if you need something, I want to.
I am
invite
fine.
That.
Yeah. I'm good.
Cool.
I'm saying
Nothing-
I'm down to play for an hour or more. That's all I'm saying, right? I don't give a fuck. It's
It's
school night.
ultimately up to.
No,
Yeah.
nothing crazy has
Bill's
happened
house.
this week.
It's Bill's house.
I'm just like
Yeah,
this.
Also that it's Bill's house.
Because my emotions have been all over the board. So I'm just preemptively being are you okay? No,
Okay.
it's fine. I do this a lot now.
Well, you seem very not that. You seem very Faerynn. I'm good, but maybe it's.
Maybe I'm allowing myself to embody my character as a safe space.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, is everybody having fun?
Fuck yeah.
Having
Yeah,
so much fun.
absolutely.
Boom.
This has been Giggle Fest.
Also,
2018.
I used to
14.
have a
Okay,
job where we
can we
referred
just
to
talk
pooping
about-
as giggling, and I always think that in my head whenever so
The
Giggle
cheese
Fest
bucket.
is just
I used to fire Cheetos when I was stoned, and now I feel like this is the more glamorous
Snyder's of Hanover and solid
and
pub cheese.
with
Well,
jalapenos.
It's specifically
This-
the butter snaps with the jalapeno.
Butter
cheese.
snaps.
Right,
This-
because the
this
butter
screams-
snaps and the pub teas, they go together.
Hey, listen here, Buttersnap.
Don't call me butter snap,
this-
butter snap.
Is that one of the
This
NPC names?
Oh,
hits
sugar
all
cube.
those same buttons, but in a much more highbrow, trashy way.
20th.
Cheesemonger.
I like how you just said highbrow
Yeah.
trashy.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's
Everybody's
let's get back into things.
Yes.
Focus. Thank you. That's the focus
Focus timer.
song.
Yeah.
I need to focus.
So,
Time.
Okay.
You feel yourself holding a hand, and you look, and your vision actually, you look at the person whose hand you're holding, and your vision kind of not of your own volition goes wide out into the distance, and you just see a lot of flower and pollen just flowing in the distance, and some of that is kind of coming at you, some of it's going away from you. You can't even, it's almost like it's breathing around you. And you finally, your vision sort of narrows, and you're looking into the unbelievably, infinitely beautiful eyes of Morel. And she looks at you and she says, "Why the fuck are you holding my hand?" And then you look up again and you're looking into Ferg's face. And that's what Ferg's saying to you. And Ferg, your hand is being held.
Yeah,
God.
Why are you touching me?
and you see her
That's at least a gold.
and you see that's fantastic. And you see time kind of look around for a moment and kind of just
Are you
oh,
here?
this is when you are. Hello.
Hi, yeah, this is when what? I'm here.
And you both
Yeah,
are
this
walking into the
time.
door as you're having this conversation.
Oh, held your hand as we kind of walked in the door. I'm like, Are you pulling me in? Am I pulling you in? I don't know. This is happening. Like, we are here. This is the stepping stone. But this is when you are. This is when we are. Hello.
You're rubbing your forehead, by the way, a little bit. Time.
Yeah.
Because you realize that you actually ran into the door jam.
Wow.
It kind of is what kind of maybe brought you back or forward. You don't know.
And it definitely wasn't a subtle push from Ferg for holding their hand.
Mm-hmm. She doesn't care. She stops for a moment and actually kind of like looks for a moment and actually like leans back and holds the door back open like June bug, come on, like, and this little cat kind of runs back into the store.
Your cat's named Junebug.
I know.
It's adorable.
Thanks. It just kind of looks like, oh, Ferg, hello.
Yeah, I'm Ferg. Who are you? How do you know me?
Oh,
nobody knows me.
It's me. It's time. No, because you just told me. And she kind of looks around a little bit.
This is bizarre to you.
Yeah.
Time.
Yeah, no.
Time.
Yeah.
You've clearly met Ferg before.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we've known each other for many seasons.
Never met you before.
Well, not yet. We just did. Come, Lily. You should meet Ren.
Yeah, that's I came to town.
She grabs her hand again really comfortably and drags you back towards
Does
Ren.
time have any sort of station indicators on like the modality of wizardry that you've studied?
Let me think. Nothing that would be like openly recognizable, I think. I would say yeah, maybe. So she has
Make an
very
intelligence check, real quick.
very like comfortable looking clothing on, like a very like woolly sweater, more like comfy pants and this like cloak on. But she does have this medallion that kind of looks like a little bit of an hourglass hanging around her neck.
8.
Okay, so
And I've also read a lot, but I'm used to like very narrow, like focused wizards.
what I will say is something about the way time speaks is familiar. You can't really place it.
Yeah.
It's something familiar, like for example, in your in the mycologue that you used to sort of study in and work around. I don't know. Maybe she's a wizard, but you can't really tell of what order.
Yeah. Maybe sort of read something like while I was eating and didn't really pay attention to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like that book.
Rage reading.
That if you opened up that book somewhere in the future, like it's got like ketchup stains all over it.
Oh no, that would never happen.
I mean, that would never happen.
You have to kill the person that did that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ferg
Okay.
even remember
Punish
that.
yourself.
I'm learning. I have learned so much about Ferg right now in this moment.
Yeah, there's literally like I'm reading and then eat, look over. Eat, look over. If you're eating,
It's a little
you're
more
never
close, but
mixing.
more careful.
Yeah.
But like definitely the book is above the food.
So as you both are kind of bantering back and forth, and you're clearly as clear as day, like, wow, I'm so thankful to be seeing you again, and you're like, who the fuck are you? You both.
And it's also super awkward because like
You both let your.
you're a foot taller than me.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
also that, like, so I'm quite tall. And there's also, like, this really strange sense of, like, how do I put it this way? Like, familiarity with you, but in that you are 100% certain you've never met me before.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's the sense of things that you know that you do as, like, your own, like, personal inside jokes, right? Like, kind of like your own mannerisms.
Yeah.
She's almost emulating sometimes, and you're like we had an inside joke, and you're like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
It's more disconcerting. Like it feels familiar, but makes you feel more detached at the same time.
And that is interrupted by both of you sort of like looking forward and seeing Faerynn kneeling down on the ground, addressing a very young.
You mean rubbing a halfling down
Got
with
you, like-
with lotion?
got you by
Well, I would say at
collar.
this point
Addressing.
the lotion rubbing is
Well,
done.
you can
Okay.
you can kind of
It was
see it
very
past the half.
It was
seamless.
essential lotion.
It was seamless.
Yeah.
I didn't
Okay.
ask consent. I just was like,
It was implicit.
We're gonna chill out now.
Right.
You know?
And there's also, I'm sure, a trust
Yeah.
that you look up to Faerynn. You know Faerynn is like someone that you can trust. So you see these two interacting, and you're
See you later.
something is familiar. Where do you know, both of you have been around here for a little bit, not a long time, but enough that maybe you might recognize this young halfling. Both of you make intelligence checks, please.
Around what the fuck is the name of the human city?
Roseaxe?
No.
Oh,
human
Falenstein?
Falenstein?
17.
They come from Falenstein, right?
No.
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 Not there was
Tavin Punky.
Damn it.
They come from the Cloud City.
Five.
That's right.
Okay, so I'm gonna say that you're
Sorry.
much more of a recent arrival, Fairg.
Yeah.
But Captain, on the other hand,
time.
oh, I'm gonna mess with you, my friend.
That's fine, but everybody calls me time.
But the DM calls you Captain.
Oh, Captain, my Captain.
I'm okay with you calling me Captain, baby.
I know. I mean, you don't really have a choice, but it's cool.
Captain time.
So, but Captain, on the other hand, sees this young woman, this young halfling woman, and God, there's so much that's familiar about her on a number of different levels. First off, the moment you look into her face, you see this familiar, I guess, naive young halfling that has come in with her parents once that you can remember. Once. Both and you remember them because you actually struck up a conversation with them. They were high-ranking necromancers from Falenstein. Of course, in the upper portion of the city, you know.
Naturally.
And they were, wow, they were like a wealth of knowledge. But you did get the sense that they didn't necessarily want to interact with you. They seemed like they were forced to interact with you out of etiquette, out of an understanding that you're a wizard, we are wizards. Sure, let's do this for a little bit. You know, it was very forced. It was a very forced exchange, especially on their part. But there's another thing that you begin to look at this halfling and see their face like decay, like the flesh is being like slowly preened and ripped from her face to the degree where you get weak in the knees, Captain, and you almost lose your balance. You actually have to steady yourself by putting your hand
On the big work.
on the big. Well, I was gonna say Ferg, since you're next to him.
Is
Yeah, or
Fair
them.
good? Like, I feel like Fair's not.
I'm definitely in
pull
their
away.
line of sight, though, because I'm
Well,
standing in front of these two.
Yeah,
You're
Ferg's gonna
sitting. Thank you very
like
much.
support in that
I
moment
did
and then
say
be
I moved,
like
that's okay.
brush
You're
it off
Wait,
like
you did say you moved?
Yeah,
you-
after I handed
You
the
just
pile.
kind of
Oh.
noticed that just for an instant,
I thought you were sitting.
time loses her balance.
yeah, and so like in that very instant, like we'll be supportive,
I don't know what's happening.
but it is then like
Everything's-
immediately shrugging off the touch as soon as they know that she's back on her feet.
The halfling child, that their face is being systematically ripped,
Systematically.
basically the flesh is being ripped from their face, turns to you and says, "The past is the future, and you can't tell the difference."
And she is
The moment you look
looking
away,
at you.
the moment you look away, you looked away just for a moment, Will, and the moment you look back, everything's normal.
Yeah, but she's like looking at you with this look of like, and kind of like realizes that she's like touching and like kind of looks over you and goes, and she touches like her necklace a little bit.
I feel like I recognize a spacey wizard. Like I just have a vague sense of status, and I know this is like kind of a hippie wizard that my parents would not approve of, and I'm just like.
Yeah.
Like not that I necessarily subscribe to that, but I like have a little bit of that.
Go ahead and make
Not
a
biased.
Yeah.
go ahead and
Yeah.
go ahead and make an intelligence check. If you have history as a skill, you can roll history, but intelligence is the main.
It's gonna be bad. I'm not gonna know much.
And
Let's see.
Hey! Minus. Oh no, I think it's negative or neutral. I think it's
I think it's
0?
11, don't you?
11. Yeah. Yeah.
0.
So what is it?
0. So it's
17?
That's good.
Oh, this is one of those diviners.
Hey.
Hey,
Oh, this is
you.
all I need right now. I'm gonna hold your hand.
I mean, trainee.
And also
Trainee.
maybe worried that like he knows she knows my parents.
Hey.
Like I know I have some sense that like we've had an interaction before, and and I'm just like not super comfortable. Not yeah.
And is
Berg just
and-
looks super confused and looks at Ren and is like, so you need help? You hiring?
You're asking for a job?
Yeah.
You're actually not hiring at all.
You can talk to my GM.
Yeah.
She's right over there.
Okay.
What is your
Des!
name, by the way?
Yes!
I'm
What do you
busy!
tell your,
Yeah.
like,
Do you want
She
some
yells
pie
for
while
you.
you
Clomp,
wait?
clomp, 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 clomp from down
The name's
stairs.
Kiss. Would you like some pie while you wait?
Eventually.
I'm
No,
for
right away.
sure. Yeah.
It's from the vendor across the street. And then Ket cuts you a slice too.
Whatever you're
You
called.
You can sit with him if you want.
It's really good
Lou.
pie.
Turns out to be Ferg's favorite pie ever.
I mean, I don't know what's going on either, but
Yeah.
Pie.
Ferg is like, alright, we're gonna eat this pie and just roll with it.
And when you say that, Ket looks at you and
So
says,
I'll be
it's
honest, like
custom
everybody else
when
is
being
calling you
invited
Lou.
into someone's
I don't call you
abode
Lou.
to bring
Like, I
a
just
welcome
like-
gift.
thank you for your gift.
In
And-
this
and-
case,
Maybe
pie.
always like slightly
And
comforted,
welcome
also
into my home.
creeped out by it. Comforted and creeped
Thank
out
you.
at the same time.
Like, there's a
It's
level
good to
it's
be here.
like, oh,
Yeah.
we must be good eventually because Lou, but it's like,
I like
it
that.
feels weird.
Faerynn,
right?
It's too
may
familiar,
I
like,
speak
too
with
early.
you for a
Yeah,
moment?
exactly.
Sure thing.
We're being bad.
Is it Diz or
Des?
Des? Yeah, Des pulls you aside
Okay.
and she says, I have the proper names of the two mushrooms that you're seeking. We still don't have a location on them. I don't know what to tell you. But we have the names if you're interested.
Cool.
I'll just write them down and.
Yeah, that's great.
You're occurring to me as very the dude, which is great, which is awesome. She's like, and
the ring
yeah,
abides.
yeah, and so in the
I know.
driest way, she's just kind of like she goes, and then writes down the two fungus. These two mushroom names were actually mushrooms that Captain Time asked you to research,
Okay.
so that Time may go sort of seek this out.
Mm-hmm.
You were hoping to get a location attached to this mushroom, but these two mushrooms are actually quite on the rare side of the spectrum. One is called the Meninger mushroom.
Presents for you guys.
And the other one is a little bit more complex because they call it the Strassman Collective.
That sounds like a band
Whoa.
name. A good band name.
And this
Tell me
particular
it's not.
and this particular mushroom is actually less of a mushroom and more what folks know this sort of like greater power in this world as the mycelium.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, there's the scientific name of this sort of like under lattice sort of stratus of these little like fine, almost like veiny fungi called mycelium. And so that's what they refer to as the Strassman Collective, is that it's a collective of mycelium that legend says shares a hive mind.
Mhm.
And it's very much known to sort of like communicate from vast distances. Some think that the Strassman Collective actually inhabits the entire the entire Kashar Valley. But with your educated guess, that might be a little bit of an embellishment. Nothing could be that big. But nothing could be that big yet. You haven't experienced anything like that from your expertise. Anyway, so these are the two the mushrooms that Time requested information on. You're bringing it basically back to him, but you're a little. I don't want to say her. Thank you, but I don't want to say embarrassed. You can make up your own kind of description of like what you may feel, but like you're a little bit hesitant to even bring this to Time because your intention was to bring back like a location. Like Time is actually paying you money to find a location. You don't have one.
Right.
It's a little embarrassing.
Every once in a while, by the way,
mean-
you look over and maybe you notice Time, like, she kind of looks at one of your customers and then kind of, like, looks at some of your, like, displays that you have, and she kind of goes, like, moves it a little bit and walks over here. And, like, minutes later, you notice that customer kind of walk over and, like, look at that mushroom that she moved and go, huh, and pick it up and then go walk and buy it. Like, she just is slowly moving things around your
Sounds
shop
real
a little
annoying.
Really annoying. And I
bit.
feel
You're
like,
but that's what I
like,
want that to be there, though. And just like,
I feel like maybe it
suffer
would be
her 'cause she's
embarrassing if Time wasn't like. I feel like Faerynn would be
She's-
able to like.
she's moving things every once in a while, like all the time, like a little bit.
Like not manipulate, but like not worried about not having the location because like Time is pretty malleable in terms of like being influenced.
And that's
seems
fair.
like.
That's fair. But also,
think that.
Faerynn doesn't really know Time all that well, aside from just being a complete and utter space case.
You guys, I
Not
know
as well as
how
Time knows Faerynn.
feels.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm saying like I feel like you
Don't
would
worry
have
about it.
this. Like I feel like you wouldn't be worried about it. Does that make sense?
I'm definitely not worried about it.
So, what do you do with this information?
Be down.
So I guess okay, so currently these two are chatting.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
No, we're not chatting. I'm not like.
We haven't talked really. Like
I'm
I stared at
freaked
you.
out. I mean, I did something that I didn't actually.
Okay,
Maybe
so-
shared a glance? No?
So we have like a lapse
We
in
talked briefly.
time
I
where
didn't-
like a lot of really
I don't know why.
awkward, brief interactions have happened, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But Time is in the shop now.
like my teens.
So I'm kind of, and I've just talked to Des, so I'm kind of like, Time. Hey, those mushrooms that you were looking for, I don't know exactly where they are, which is very exciting to me because that doesn't usually happen. It's gonna happen. I'm just letting you know that that's the status. Like that doesn't actually. This is unusual for me. So therefore exciting.
She seems really uninterested in that, and she's like, "You'll find them when you find them."
Yeah.
You're
Which is
very
soon.
much near this conversation while it happens,
Yeah. Like, no, ears perked up, like, oh.
but you haven't
Friends.
heard the actual mushrooms that they're talking about.
But, like, hearing that there's, like, an
Probably
excitement for
for
possibly
The
travel.
order.
Mhm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, yeah, I'll travel with Faerynn.
Mhm.
And Time looks really confused for a moment, and she kind of pauses and she goes like looks at like Ferg.
Why do you keep looking at me like that?
Well, and then she looks back at you like, have you given Ferg a job yet? Oh, it's not yet. Okay.
Think
No.
of
And then
that
she
how,
looks at you with
kinda
that, like,
look at Ferg
expectant,
and be
like, So when are we finding those
her
mushrooms?
knowledge is
Make an
far
insight
beyond
check.
her years would suggest.
Are you putting them away?
There should be alcohol
keep
in
those
that.
up.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
everybody
that is an
chill
alcohol
out.
carriers device.
But
Where's
he kind of
yours?
says that with like a
Shanna,
confused
our
look on
excitement
his face,
cannot
like
chill
he's
out.
almost asking you, like,
Ferg will be like, no, yeah, that's, I get there.
Insight
Yeah, insight.
I've read about ones like that.
10.
Okay.
are there
So
many humans like this?
So you have a weird gut feeling that kind of comes out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird because normally, I don't know, like time has yet to present herself as somewhat, I don't know, she's definitely someone that you can talk shop with.
Mm-hmm.
But she's not anyone remotely useful to you at this present moment. But the moment she says that, something inside of you was like, huh. Hire Ferg.
Mm-hmm.
What do I hire Ferg for?
Well,
And there's something on the tip of your
Mm-hmm.
tongue that you want to ask Ferg, but you just can't
okay.
come to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's right there. It's really just annoying.
Yeah. It's also annoying because like this is like Des territory, and I feel like real weird about that. Because
Don't step on any toes.
relationships.
Yeah.
Inner office, personal.
Yeah. Like this works for a reason. I'm feeling a feeling that
Maybe I could
encroaches.
maybe I could buzz electrocute Faerynn a little bit and like pulls the memory out.
You want to electrocute Faerynn.
Well, just a little bit. Like I can tell.
Just a little bit.
I can
It's
tell
fine.
something's going on, and I'm just like.
It's almost like your
telling
eagerness
me,
to
like,
help.
yeah, like an eagerness. Exactly.
Do you do it really obviously, or
Like no, just like no, maybe I just sense like something is happening. Something's coalescing here, and maybe I just start buzzing out of like kind of excitement,
Yeah.
and I accidentally like kind of shock. Is this fucking real magic?
Go ahead and roll a d20. So, by the way, that coin is your wild magic coin. Yeah.
And how do I
Use
use
it
this for?
often and fun.
What's that?
How do I use it again? I give it to you if I want advantage.
Advantage on an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw. So the big three,
Okay.
essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And
3?
yeah, well, it is the big three. I'm 5e. And so what I'm asking you is that so you're trying to just barely give Faerynn a little bit of a jolt, just to kind of spark something, literally and metaphorically.
Yeah, I
right?
feel like something could coalesce here. There's something happening, and I
So-
want to like cook it
So
into
I
place.
You're
So
being
I-
catalyst.
so I know this is going to sound weird because you're not necessarily attacking Ren, right? But
Yeah.
I need you to roll an attack roll. Would you like to roll advantage by giving me that coin?
Well, my thing is it an attack roll or an ability?
It's an
check?
attack roll.
Because
Just say-
I don't want to
Say-
super
So-
attack.
yes.
I understand.
So the
Okay.
Tides of
Roll
Chaos,
an
what he's
attack roll.
talking about is
Wait. I don't want you to read that right now.
Because I don't know this shit. So
Oh,
I don't know
even
it.
even worse.
I don't know anything.
Even worse.
Okay.
Wait. So before you
Yes.
Yes.
roll. So
Okay.
give me the coin. Now
That means you're gonna
roll
roll
2d20 instead of 1d20.
11
And a 9.
Plus 6.
plus 6.
That's your
'cause
spell
my
casting.
charisma. Oh yeah.
Are you sure it's
Okay,
plus
17.
6? That seems.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh
she
wait.
has
well,
a
because
plus
18 charisma. Yeah.
Because 18s, who's got 18s? High fives.
Yeah. Well,
Spellcaster
persuasion or as anything in there is anything.
No,
No,
it's
you're
this right here.
rolling off
It'd be
your-
your spell casting attack modifier.
Oh, okay.
So I'd like you to roll a d8.
I got you. Yeah, never mind. They've got you.
That sounds like a good.
You take 5 points of electricity damage. You find yourself going down to your knees. All of your hair,
Are you already?
all
on
of your hair is standing up on end as you hit the ground. But the
You
moment
mean 5 of my 12?
yeah,
All right.
right, like
This is a big hit.
Sorry.
right, and you vaguely hear like maybe like your kind of like ears are ringing and everything sounds kind of hollow, but you vaguely hear like but the something that comes to your mind as that like apology, that like hollow, like I don't want to say hollow on your end, but
Like parents.
yeah, like-
Hollow apology.
that hollow apology, boom,
Okay, that was a good one.
Thank
Not
you.
low.
Yeah.
it sort of fades in the background, and you
I'm
realize,
capable of all things.
oh,
Like Gandhi.
Ferg was a librarian for a really long time and studied a lot of different things. He might know something about these mushrooms.
They.
thank you, might know something about these mushrooms.
You never said your pronoun.
That's the insight that you kind of land to
Okay.
as this shock
All right.
just
All right.
takes
Is he gonna
over.
fall to the ground? Is he like falling over?
Oh, like immediately.
I think if I had any chance to react, I would just reach out one of my big hands and like try to like.
Aww.
So
Works in,
instead
I'm
of
sitting on the
like-
bench right there. I
so
don't
instead
know.
of 5 damage, you take 3 damage,
Okay.
and you took 2 because you absorbed a lot of the damage.
Okay,
Ooh.
I'm cool with that.
You should.
If at any point you're on the ground, you look up. There's a cat, kind of like hair like, like I'm just like, what the fuck, like looking at all of you. And I'm like,
Is this cat? Is this your cat?
this is
And
my cat.
that's when your senses
The
kind
cat
of
that
come
came
back
with
to
me, at
normal.
least.
Okay.
Yeah. How do you react?
We're closed. We're closed. We're closed. Get out. Get out of my shop. Get out of my shop.
Everybody, I'm sorry.
Not you. Not you.
I'm sorry.
Not you. Not you.
I'm sorry.
We're closed.
Everybody else.
Everybody else out of the shop.
I'm sorry.
Like
No, it's cool, it's cool.
Janiger's just apologizing.
It's fine.
You're being like the we're closed, and Janiger's
Yeah.
like
Very sorry.
Right.
20% discount tomorrow.
or something like that.
And then
trying to,
I'm
assuage.
like, you all upstairs now. Get upstairs. You know, like we're closed, and like I like leave my staff to like do the thing downstairs,
Yeah.
but we're going upstairs.
As
Yeah.
we're going upstairs, I hand
Yeah.
Janagor the rest of the pie and say,
Mm-hmm.
and then I follow.
Yeah. And so
We don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
Ferg is at the very end
I-
of the line.
I
Like
want pie.
this is.
I hand you a piece.
Like, do I want?
you're not used to being
So-
bossed around like this.
Yeah, but everybody else is doing it, so it must be right.
You
Fair.
you find that time is already
Reluctant
like
leader.
already walking towards the staircase before you're like God damn it again. I'm sorry.
You're so annoying.
Yeah. Yeah. You go upstairs.
I mean, are
You go upstairs, and in
I
fact,
bet
you
you
actually
have
see Time like sitting in one of the chairs already.
Right.
She's just looking around.
It's fine. It's just-
Eating pie.
No, and for me, it's just
Like
finding
another guy.
Time. Like I've known Time for a while.
Right.
Time is a fucking weirdo. Whatever.
Totally the
Okay.
dude. Yes.
So everybody's upstairs. You close
Everybody's
the door.
upstairs.
I hand you a drink.
It's my bedroom, which is it's like an office, but it's like a bedroom. There's like a hearth at the other end of the.
Is it smaller
It's
than
small.
down?
How
Okay,
big
I'm
is
nailing.
intimate.
Okay.
It's like the size of maybe
I'm
like
nailing.
maybe this and a half the size of this room.
That's fair.
Um.
So can I add one just little minor moment? Is like everybody is in Ren's bedroom,
Mhm.
and your bed is kind of right in the sort of like middle, up against the wall, middle of the room, and everybody is just sort of like bunched in the middle of the room, and like nobody's sitting on your
Right,
bed.
and I'm like, everybody just sit down. You're also seeing like, it's my bedroom, but it's also clearly there's like other people who stay here. Like it's like kind of a flux room. Like I'm not here all the time, and like
Oh.
there's, you can tell
You
there's
Airbnb
like
that shit?
there's like some Des clothes around. There's like a closeness, you know,
Tiefling
like
size clothes.
yeah, there's like some shit
There's
going
another
on.
cackle in the background.
You know, obviously there's like, you know, if you were going to go into my bathroom, there's like a lot
Maybe
of
the
different,
chimney, like,
you know.
it's like
A lot of
the chimney
toothbrushes?
goes up to
There's a
that
lot of
spot.
toothbrushes, you
Ferg
know.
finds a chair and just pushes the clothes off
Right.
and sits down.
You say
Right,
get,
exactly.
So you say get that, like sit down.
And
whatever.
I like see like in one fell motion, I ask everybody to sit down. I kind of like push you down into a sitting motion, and I like fish out like a bottle, like a glass vial, and I like take it out and I like shake something into my palm and I just shove it in your mouth. Like I'm just like you.
And I'm totally like, this
And
is
I'm
what
like,
I want.
right.
I
and
want
I'm like,
this.
you need to chill out right now.
Okay, thank you.
Right?
Thank you.
And then I'm like, let's all just chill out. Let's all just chill out. And I'm like, does anyone need water? Who needs water? I need water, right? And so then I like go into like my bathroom area and I like bring out this like, you know, decanter.
Carafe.
And I like
Sorry.
I give everybody water. And I'm like I'm kind of pissed and I'm kind of confused, but I'm like frazzled.
This is it's so the dude.
That's all.
Like,
That's all
really
that's happening.
Big Lebowski, the dude.
but it almost occurs to me like you're like very silent throughout this whole.
Yeah, like
ordeal.
I'm just like we're closed. Go upstairs.
Yeah.
Have these things and then
That's
I like
essential.
sit on the floor. Like I sit on the floor and I'm
Right.
just like looking at all of you and I'm like
Time
Right.
very like comfortably gets on your bed, but kind of like puts her back to the wall and kind of like lays there with like an arm up, and the cat is just kind of like laying next to her, and she's like petting it.
You can
Waiting.
distantly hear a loud clacking sound that is the equivalent of it's now the next hour of the day. from the towers. It's less of a bell and more just of a.
It's a ratchet.
Jesus.
Well, every-
Distantly hear that kind of through the shutters of your windows.
Every 5
Continue.
hours is the big dog. Right, like-
So I am like after a minute, I'm like, okay, I need to check in with my people. So I exit.
You give us all water and you leave.
And you need a
I
break
do.
from the situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I go downstairs to my people to be like, what's going on, and like maybe reopen the, because I
feel
made
like-
a call. I made a very firm call, which is not something I would normally do in the shop. So like I'm gonna go downstairs and check on things and be like, should we open up? Or
The
whatever.
moment you see Des, she's just like, "What's going on?
Yeah, right.
How can I help? Can we open the doors?"
And we go downstairs and we hash it out. And
Yeah.
I basically do whatever Des says.
Okay.
I had a moment,
Okay.
and I apologize, and I'm like, and I would hope she's concerned for me, but
Yeah. Her response every time you apologize is, "Well, it's your shop."
Mm-hmm.
It is your shop. Like she says that pretty much consistently. Although there's that sort of just
and
dry disappointment.
Right.
that
It could be
you're-
my shop.
And I like
Yeah.
to be clear with Des, like I'm just kind of like no, like it's our shop, and like I know, and like you take such good care of me, and like I'm just waxing on because like I can't. This shop isn't a shop without Des, and we both know it, and like it's a relationship, it's a thing.
Make a persuasion check.
And the it's your shop is so totally aggressive. Passive aggressive.
Oh, okay, that's good. 10.
Yeah.
I like that 10s are standard.
Wait, what?
That's average.
She sort of Wait, you rolled a 6 and you got a 10.
Well,
No,
because I
yours
have
isn't it.
4.
Yeah.
Oh right. So
That's
so-
why it was good.
I thought it was a 9.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So she rolls her eyes
Mm-hmm.
and she sort of okay, so it's one of those like friendship moments where she rolls
Yeah.
her eyes and she pretends like she's flattered, but you
Right.
can tell she's really
Yeah, I
pissed.
know she's mad.
She's just like
I know this is a big deal. I know she's pissed.
but she also weirdly trusts your judgment.
Mhm.
You know that from
Weirdly.
from past dealings. You know she's been working for you for forever.
Yeah.
And she just says, "Okay, we're opening the doors. I'm assuming that you closed the doors because of those weirdos that now exist in your room.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna work.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
Now what I want you to do is I want you to go upstairs,
Mhm.
and if there's any actual money to be made out of locating those 2 mushrooms that I gave you,
Okay.
then you're gonna fucking do it.
Yeah. All right.
And I'm like, because this I'm like we're this is what we're doing.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing.
Okay.
This is how our lives work. Got it.
And then she's like, I mean, it's your shop. And then that's the last thing she said. She just
Got it.
I feel like she thinks you're like drunk because you're still buzzed from being electrocuted. It's like what the like she just assumes you.
Oh, and she does this too. She like pats your head down because you look ridiculous.
Fix your hair. You look like a damn cock.
So anyway, so she leaves,
Mhm.
but she gives you a last glance to make sure you're going
Got
up
it.
the stairs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I go back up the stairs
Door opens.
and I look at all of you
I'm staying the fuck
and
away
I'm
from
like, time. What?
The cat goes.
Are you?
She kind of wakes up a little bit.
Let's start. Okay, are you? How do you? I don't know. I don't have what you need, but I'm gonna get it.
You will.
Okay, so are we good, or like like this is like, you're gonna wait. It's okay. Like we're good. Good.
You still need the locations.
We're good. I don't have any locations for you at all. But you also haven't paid any money up forward. As far as I'm concerned, this is like a long-standing deal. Like we can reconvene in a week. What do you want to do?
What do you need?
I just want to know. Like I'm just trying to like piece together my day. I want to start with you. I can get what you need. It's gonna take time. I have nothing. I have nothing for you. at the moment.
You two are very confused as to like what's happening in this, but you know, there's something gnawing at the back of your brain. It's like, what mushrooms are they talking about?
I'm kind of
I feel
like you see me like kind of like grasp this like cord I have like around me a little bit. Like she feels a little bit, and she goes, "Oh, yeah, we're fine.
Okay,
It's just
we're good.
you know, when you get it, you get it.
Yeah.
I'll wait until then."
Okay. Cool. All right. Because
What
it might take a while. It might take a little bit. It's a bit of a challenge.
What are you talking about? What are you going to look for?
It's already happened.
This is
It's
my
fine.
customer.
Yeah, no.
Who's
got-
in your bed sleeping with your
got
cat.
that.
It's fine.
What are you going to find?
Ferg will
I'm
help.
Faerynn. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
So you've seen Ferg around your shop probably for a little over a week,
Okay.
but since you're on, you're
Okay.
you're in and out, like
I've seen you around. What brings you to town? What are you looking for? What's going on?
Ferg will help you find
How do
the
you know
things I
these
need.
people?
It's important, Ferg.
These people are weird. I spend a
Yeah,
lot of
agreed.
time in libraries, and I keep hearing that you know like how to find and like locate all the mushrooms out there. Like I kind of want to see what's outside the libraries. I want to learn something new, different.
Okay. So you want to learn something new or different,
And
and that's
different.
why you're here.
Yeah, well, you're the best mushroom hunter ever.
Can I have gotten some semblance of insight? Because you said that Faerynn got some insight about that, like that Ferg knows where the mushrooms are during that electrocution.
could know.
Could know, like yes, could know, but could I have gotten some flash of that during that electric?
There's no
Just
indication.
like trying to push that.
No, I get that, but there's no indication from your character that would
There would
clue
be
you
any
in
kind of,
on
yeah.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, what are you going to hunt right now? Like, I might have info.
What
I know
mushrooms are you
everything.
looking for? I've foraged and cooked
All right.
almost all the mushrooms.
You
I
and
know.
I'll talk. I need to talk to these folks right now. All right. So,
Yeah. Okay.
are we done here? Are we good?
Yeah.
Are we good? Are we good? Are you and I good time?
We've always been good.
All right. You two can leave. Get out of my bedroom.
And the moment you kind of make that motion,
Yeah.
that piece of paper that that Dyson wrote out to you drops on the ground, kind of right in between Time and Ferg.
Okay.
What's it say on it?
The
You pick it up.
mushrooms that.
Is the writing clear enough that I could read it while it was still on the floor, or would I have to pick it up?
It's folded.
You would have to pick it up.
We'll pick it up and hand it back to Faerynn while accidentally unfolding it.
Sure. It actually wasn't folded.
So
It actually
fucking
wasn't
coy.
folded.
Best
It's
of
like
both worlds.
you hand it back to Faerynn, but you can't help but look at it.
Yeah.
You're just too curious.
And I look at
It's
you
reading.
looking at it.
Reading, man.
Yeah.
I
The
read everything.
the first
sorry.
name, which
Not,
you're reading it from like bottom to top
But I'm
because
reading you reading it.
you're handing it back upside down, is the Strassman Collective, and then the second
So
thing
gravitating towards
is
your
7.
the
Cat's gonna
the
notice that you're
Menninger
uncomfortable and
or the
just kinda
Menninger
lift it and put it on the other side of him.
mushroom.
Thank you. Rude.
And if now you know that if you
just
went
creating
to
space.
a mycolog, you could definitely get some like perhaps solid research insight into these mushrooms, but you can feel free to go ahead and make an intelligence check right now. If you have nature as a skill, you may feel free to roll that as well.
Yes.
Is that you do have that skill?
15.
Okay, so
We've read a lot.
was that
We've
was
looked at
that
a
was
lot
that
of
15
pictures.
on the collective or the Strassman Collective or the Menninger mushroom?
The Menninger mushroom. Like, definitely heard of the Strassman Collective, but like, maybe it's a little like circumspect because we're like, no, it's not that big. You
Okay.
can't call it a collective.
And while we're at it, go ahead and make another knowledge nature check on the Strassman Collective.
25.
25.
24. 24.
24.
Yes.
Fascinating. Okay. So the Menninger mushroom is drinking booze because weird hiccups. Okay. The Menninger mushroom, it's named after the original forager, Menninger Wendell, an elder elven ranger said to be alive and still hunting fungi and mycelium to this day. I mean, according to the legends, Menninger Wendell was a very, very old soul, to the degree where he would have to be kind of in his venerable years.
Would we have seen any maps that might point to his current location, or like within the last 5 years?
Well, not necessarily his current location, because he's much like Faerynn. He's quite on the hunt all the time.
Yeah, but like, so within the last like 5 years, like if he came back into town, like if something circulated around that got to.
So right now I'm gonna say that like you don't have any information on that.
Okay.
But what you do have information on is where the Menninger mushroom actually resides.
Oh.
Which is at the summit of a very, very tall mountain range on the edge of the southern Kashar Valley, very much near Fallenstein.
That's shitty.
Who's got 2 thumbs and is a natural explorer in mountain ranges? This guy.
Who hasn't told you anything about knowing about mushrooms yet?
Truth. I'm just saying.
However, the
That was a sidebar.
Strassman Collective,
Still good.
discovered by Elgar Strassman, a myconome raised by humans, who is credited for finding the Myco Collective, this specific Myco Collective, the Strassman Collective, in a small range of mountain forest just outside and adjacent to the Kashar Forest. So, the big difference between these two is that, as you understand, the Strassman Collective is actually much more accessible. It's in a forested mountain range, and you're not sure you could find your way there, but you're almost positive that this one can.
Would I also be pretty, like, being well read, pretty sure that an orc could help lead us through the Kashar Forest?
Well, I mean, you wouldn't have to go into the Kashar Forest because it's right on the edge of the Kashar Forest.
Yeah.
That said, I mean, like,
It would be helpful.
Keth would probably be very helpful in that regard.
Yeah.
There is one thing, however. The thing that you're almost, so this is definitely the easy route. It's the two possible, out of the two possible outcomes, this is the outcome that is the easiest to get to. However, there are rumors about folks who actually distill the mycelium from the Strassman Collective and consume it. It hasn't always been a pleasant experience.
Easy to get to, hard to get, versus hard to get to might be easier to grab.
Right. Now you know that Faerynn is a master at traversing mountain ranges and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
However, that doesn't necessarily extend to everybody else.
I mean, Ferg's gonna relate all of that information about both mushrooms to Faerynn and be like, I mean, if you pay us, we'll come with you because we want to learn from you, but job. But it's really your choice which one you want to go after first, or if at all.
Either of them in the Kashar Forest? One of them's on the edge, and the other one is near Fallenstein.
In the mountains.
Yeah. which, you
I
know.
feel like there should be like we're eventually. No, then. Yeah. Shut up.
Okay, so I want to shift over to you two
Mhm.
and ask you how you're reacting to this conversation, because quite frankly, being brought up to a bedroom and kind of having the door shut, and it almost seems a bit, I don't know, on the level of chastising, like you're in trouble.
Mhm.
And at the same time, you know, you kind of look at Faerynn, and Faerynn doesn't seem like the chastising type, and it's not necessarily...
I
But
feel
what
more
do you-
comfortable being chastised because I'm a child and I'm being told what to do. I'm like, I've also discharged some nervous energy, and I have found the person that I was looking for who has given me shit. I feel pretty good.
Okay.
Feel pretty good,
Okay.
and like where
Secure.
okay, somebody's gonna take care of me now, and everything's gonna be okay, even if that's not true.
All right.
Like,
Everything's
Keth
gonna
Keth
be
is
okay.
just
Better.
kind
Well,
of
that's what time
hanging
is
out and
you.
assessing the situation.
Everything's gonna be
He's
okay.
not one to like jump
You'll die
into
eventually.
anything unless it's like not unless it's asked of him. Like he does
It's
do
true.
stuff to help people, but he's not gonna like interject into what's clearly a stressful situation until he's needed, because he knows it'll make it more stressful. So he's kind of just chilling on the fringe and like listening to this interaction.
But Ferg
And
also
kind of-
said that like you would be super helpful in this.
Right, and when you say that, then I'd finally be like, okay, this is when like now I can interject and be like, I will help you in your endeavor in any way. I'm just aiming to prove myself. I haven't found out what that means yet.
Well,
That's
he will
the
show us
most
the way.
valiant thing I've ever
you're
heard.
good.
Just saying.
Also, like,
Do you say that out loud?
yeah, I say that to them.
that's so earnest.
Keth is really honest and
Hard on
kind
the
of socially
sleeve.
awkward. He doesn't really like. He hasn't been around people besides his own people, so he's just like very like. The orcs are very like forthcoming with each other.
Right.
So he's
Right.
just
This one will help us. Also, will work for you. It's very important.
Time.
Yeah.
Chill.
Time is chill.
as long as I'm fed, I'll be fine. Money has no value to me.
I like this one.
I'm glad you like her. Him. Them.
I'm down for
So
whatever.
confusing.
I'm fine as long as you keep giving me the things that you just put in my mouth.
Cool.
Wow, you made an instant addict.
And Keth's gonna like pat you slightly, but you'll probably fall over. Just like a.
I'm pretty sturdy.
Yeah. You do notice that what Faerynn gave to you is actually actively suppressing the energy that's flowing through you,
Yeah.
and like for the first time in days, you almost feel like you could sleep.
I like that. So I'm feeling really sleepy. I'm like
Go
looking
to
at
sleep.
the bed. I'm
Go
looking
to
at the
fuck
bed.
to sleep.
Do you say that?
Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm not saying it, I'm looking at you and I'm like,
That was really
I
important.
mean, the shit you gave me, I feel like.
Yeah, and I
has
know
some
you.
sedatives,
and you're like a
Actually,
child. You're a child
has-
in my community.
It has no sedative aside from the
It's
the
taken some of the anxiety.
Yeah.
Or the stuff that's been. The
You're on my
electricity- yeah.
bed. There's a hearth. There's a fire burning in the hearth. It's very cozy.
There's a
Really important though. I mean,
Okay, I'm asleep.
do you say sleep? Go to sleep.
Sure. If I look over and Lumi is looking at me with that I want to go to sleep face that's like barely holding on, I definitely am like talking to all y'all, and then I'm like, go the fuck to sleep.
Okay, and then as I fall
And then
asleep,
I
I'm
let
gonna
you-
I'm gonna say to you,
Yeah.
don't call me
Okay.
No, it's
I'm gonna say that as you're saying that, like time is very much like, yeah, I agree, and like pulls out some like little like component from her soul pouch, like, yeah, it kind of blows it and just like, yeah, you definitely go to sleep. Just
alone. I'm asleep.
says some arcane words and kind of like blows this like mushroom dust over you, like.
I feel like you should stand in front of me protectively.
You
And
might,
I kinda
you might
do.
go to sleep too. Actually, actually,
Yeah.
do you do that? You
where
No, I would be kneeling next to wherever you're at. 'cause I
Well,
think
you
I'm too
might
tall
just
for the
pass
room.
out.
so
you
where
go to sleep too. Actually,
where is Faerynn deciding that he wants to go?
In terms of right this very moment.
Which
Yeah.
one
The
or which
mushroom.
direction?
Yeah, the two mushrooms that you're like, I have to go find these, which you're going after.
Oh, I have to decide that right now.
Well, let
Yeah.
me
I told you
let me
where they were.
Leader.
let me give you a little bit of a background.
Mm-hmm.
So time, and I'm completely making this up. This is not anything that Will communicated to me. Time,
Sure. Yet.
found information about these two strains of fungi,
Mm-hmm.
and for reasons that she has not disclosed to you, is very interested in the two and seems convinced that these mushrooms would provide maybe the same effect.
Mm-hmm.
So you know that time would be very interested in either one or the other.
Mhm.
Now, let's get down to brass tacks. Time has not paid you shit.
No, not at all.
However,
Mm-hmm.
these are two strains that
Mhm.
actually you've never actually got your
Right. Very
hands on.
interesting to me. Right.
And that is
And what are the
really-
choices?
So the choices
Just
are
brass tacks choices.
the Strassman Collective, and that's going way over to Fallenstein up in the mountains.
Yeah.
Which means going
I thought that
by
was the
I don't
opposite.
want to go to
what?
I thought the Strassman Collective was the edge of the forest. And
You're right. It is the opposite.
Sorry.
Sorry. The Menninger fungi is over by Fallenstein up in the mountains,
Mm-hmm.
which means that you would have to go by yourself. And those mountains are not the most hospitable.
Mm-hmm.
Why would
Like
sh-
it
why
would
would they have
be
to
it
go
would
by
be a
themselves?
risky proposition.
Right.
Why by themselves?
Because so not necessarily by themselves, but think about it this way: if Faerynn is a master mountain climber, and all of you are not,
Okay.
it's basically going to be like
Everyone's gonna
trying to
Mhm.
haul sheep up
Yeah.
a mountain that, like, it's not going to be good.
Yeah.
I could probably do that.
The easier way to go about it is the Strassman Collective, which is located on kind of the edge of the Kashar Forest, that is in a very kind of easy to get to place. Honestly, as a matter of fact, you've kind of been there before, and you're sort of kicking yourself that you've never found this before.
Can I go get the Strassman Collective en route to the Maniger? What is it?
The Menninger,
Meniger?
the Menninger mushroom.
Meniger mushroom.
Actually, no. One is one way, one is the other.
I have a question. What is the incentive for you even doing any work on this? Like if
The passion
time hasn't paid.
of the hunt.
You've
Right.
also,
Other
by the
people
way,
will pay
you've
more.
also heard
Okay,
some
but what if
stories
you
that even though I
offered
haven't
any,
paid, like Time has been giving a bunch of money to different charities around town. Like you've heard some interesting like
As you know.
stories
Okay.
The
about that.
main
Like time is
reason-
money.
But the main reason
Time is
that I'm
money.
interested in time
That's good.
as
Wait,
like
wait.
as a relation to me as a person as a customer is that she comes to my door with these like requests that are unusual
Mm-hmm.
and they're challenging
Okay.
and they're extremely satisfying
Okay.
and nobody else is asking for that, or if they or like maybe they should be asking for that, and like Des can figure out a way to like
And you
know.
respect that.
yeah
request.
like
Okay.
it's like an inspiration, it's like a muse, right?
Okay.
It's a muse for a hunter, like to be
And
like,
you-
oh, this
It's
And
amusing.
it's
this
supported by
beautiful
the
young
fact that
woman
you've
like
been-
comes to my door and is like, I would like this, and you're like, okay, I'll slay that
Yeah.
dragon, sounds great,
And
you
then
know?
there's a
Yeah.
person that's like, I know where that thing is.
right?
Adventure
Exactly.
afoot.
So, Faerynn, you suddenly realize,
No,
looking
I-
around the room, that you actually may have the sort of employ to bring you out. Okay, let me start over. Looking around the room,
Mm-hmm.
you see that you actually may have the exact employees,
Mm-hmm.
the exact, I don't know, lack of a better term, mercenaries
Mm-hmm.
that you may need
For the Strassman Collective.
for the Strassman Collective.
Mm-hmm.
The area is not without its perils.
Mm-hmm.
Less environmentally, more ecologically.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what?
Like bad things. Yeah,
So what's the?
Cre-
Isn't the environmentally and ecologically, aren't those two?
you'll find out. Creature danger.
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay.
So you realize that maybe there's a request in order.
Okay. I mean, my heart goes to Meninger mushroom because I'm just like, oh, this is really stressful with all these people around. But okay, so
Drink.
You were also supposed to be drinking.
okay, Ferg.
I
Ferg,
did.
is it?
Helps you hiccup more.
Berg,
Do you know how to get to this Straussman Collective? You know
I
about it?
can draw you a
I
map.
saw your eyes looking at that. What's
I can
the
draw
deal?
you a map.
Oh, okay.
I've seen the map. But we need him too.
Yeah?
Yeah, if it's on the edge of the forest,
Kashar Forest.
Kashar Forest, we need a listener.
What are you here for?
Wait,
What do you want?
wait. I
Who
want
are
to
you?
stop everybody right now. Everybody roll a knowledge history check. If they have history, and if not, roll an intelligence check.
Got a 15, Bill.
Oh, not you included, because we're rolling about you.
Oh, fine, guys.
I got
We
a
got
nine.
Wait, so
10.
if I don't
Yeah.
have history written
Just-
down.
just-
Then it's
Intelligence.
intelligence.
Oh, okay. So I'm a 19, but I'm -2, so I'm a 17.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I got a 19.
That's still really
Okay.
That's really good stuff.
So when Ferg says he's a listener,
Mm-hmm.
he might be able to help. That everything comes together now. Like you were
Yeah.
wondering about Keth a little earlier about like what tribe is he from?
Yeah.
And and then finally everything
Well, to
comes.
be fair, you'd come in contact mainly with the tribalists, so.
Yeah. And finally, it was like, okay, well, really, Keth can really only be of 3 tribes because those are the only tribes that are free.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Black Fang. And the Black Fangs are some of the most proficient listeners.
Mm.
Now,
Mhm.
what most people think of, like when you say, oh, he's a listener, like people don't really attribute that to much. But for the orcs, a listener is someone who actively is in tune and in touch with the mycelium to the point where they can navigate the Kashar Forest.
Mhm.
Nobody can do that. Nobody can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So, wow. He might be quite an asset.
Mm-hmm. So my initial feeling is I'm like, okay, I like where this is going. And then I want to sidebar with you
Okay.
and figure out what are you here for? What is going on? Why are you here with Lumi?
Okay.
Like what are your
Lumi's asleep, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
Lumi's asleep.
All right.
Time is like I'm imagining stroking her hair. Right? You know, it's like there's like that.
You're not allowing that.
No. They were uncomfortable with time. I moved her away from
Okay.
time a minute
No,
ago
Time
when
is
you guys
petting
were
the cat, but
sidebarring.
staring at her weirdly.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's keep petting 2 things.
Time is petting the cat, but looking at Lumi.
So like I want to sidebar with you because I kind
Yeah,
of
you
sidebarred
should be.
with you,
Yeah,
and then I'm kind
just
of
join in
sidebarring with
time.
you.
Yeah.
I'm still like really uncomfortable with the fact that somebody came into my shop and electrocuted me, and the only reason that you're all not kicked out is because this is a person that's like a child of my community, sort of.
Right?
Yeah.
You know,
Not
like I'm
sort
just
of.
like, yeah, no, very much, and it's just like really, I'm fucking. It's weirding me out right now, but like
Yeah.
I'm seeing an opportunity right here that's all connected,
And the pie.
and the pie.
Yeah.
And the shop is open downstairs again.
Do you ask
know?
me about the pie, or are you just asking me?
No,
about
I just like
I was
want to
curious.
know. I want to know why you're here and what's going on and like what the fuck is going on, man?
You
Like
asked him that
I can
earlier.
tell you what I know is going on
did?
if you like.
Yeah.
Are you guys stoned?
He said that he was on a quest to be good, and you were like, "Oh yeah, that's super valiant."
On a quest to prove myself.
Yeah.
but was that us actually having a conversation?
Yes.
No, I can. Well, a little bit, yeah, but I can tell you
I'm bad
more
at
in
this.
depth of why me and Lumi are here if you want, because I didn't tell you that, or like how I met Lumi. If that's what you're asking me.
Okay.
Yeah. So I basically just tell you that I left the force of Kashar
Mhm.
because I wanted to go out into the world and prove to the mycelium that my people are worthy.
Mm-hmm.
And I ran into Lumi after she'd run away from home and she was lost in the forest. I helped protect her and I got her over to you because that's where she was trying to go, and I saw it as an opportunity to like my
Okay.
first opportunity to prove myself. This young halfling needed help and I could give it, so I escorted her to you, and now I'm here, and from this point on, I want to make sure that she's okay until I know that she's going to be okay. I've kind of like
Okay.
weirdly made her my charge, if that makes any sense. But I mean, I say that too in less of a weird way.
Of course you're worthy. And she goes
Thank
back.
So,
We are worthy.
and then I'm kind of got this like, kind of like, you know, like I kind of like get
And
this
Faerynn
edge
speaks
in my
truth.
voice a little bit. I'm like, okay, we're talking about worth. Do you feel that it's a worthy pursuit to help me, in this new hunt I have for this Strassman collector?
What do I know
Like,
about the edge of the forest and these mushrooms getting collected, theoretically?
Did you roll a...
You told me not to, because they were rolling about me. You
Oh,
want me to-
no. Earlier, I asked other folks to roll intelligence checks to see what they knew about the Strassman Collective. Did you roll inside of that?
I don't think so.
So why don't you do that
I
now?
thought just you were rolling for that.
Yeah, why
That
don't
was
you do
my
that
bad.
now?
So I'm doing an intelligence, like a history check?
Intelligence or nature?
Okay, well, those are both. I got
Oh.
A 3?
Mhm.
You really don't know much.
Okay. I was going to say, because it would be insensitive if I thought that the like, Strassman Collective was being taken advantage of, then I would be, like, seeing that as, like, worthy to, like, go. But I don't know.
So now I'm going to ask you, like, what kind of experience do you have with listening?
And I'll say, all Black Fang children are taught to listen from an early age. Some of us are more receptive to it than others. I, though being half-orc, was one of the more proficient of my tribe. And I can get you anywhere in the Kishar Forest that you need to go.
So, by the way, that was a little surprising. You didn't know Keth was half-orc. Keth very much looked like full-blooded orc.
Okay, so now I'm like,
I'm very orky. I'm very large.
Keth is a one thing. It's weird. We decided that was the slang.
Not
that
half-tusk.
slang doesn't even enter my
Not half tusk, but
lexicon.
like one tusk.
Okay,
One
so
tusk,
so
one
now, and I'm inserting some narrative because reasons, but you realize that wow, you have a party that's willing to help you out with this. I mean, even including the sort of interested party, and as you're silently kind of looking around, and you're basically judging everyone like in their usefulness. Like you see Ferg with that very odd, like massive thing strapped to their back. That looks somewhat like a sword, but at the same time, it's clearly a weapon of some sort.
Well, no, it's clearly a piece of machinery.
Right, but clearly a piece of machinery
It
can
could be
also
used
be.
as a weapon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then you look at time, and time is, while spacey, definitely, I don't know, something.
I feel like
And then Keth, I mean, holy shit.
Sitting cross-legged.
You're realizing that there's a lot of usefulness in this room.
Yeah.
And then where we'll
And then we come to
and then,
Loom.
and then where we'll leave off in the evening is you look at Lumi and you just hear
Yeah.
sparks fly out of my nose.
Toot.
and that's where we'll
Or my
end
butt.
tonight.
Nice.
Yay!
Thank you so much, everyone. Oh my god.
Thank you.
Such a great session.
I still
Such
cast-
a great
I
session.
cast something to kill somebody, I swear to God.
Right.
What?
No, I'm just joking.
Can you pass me my dice? The
No.
yellow one and the rainbow ones?
I didn't know I was the leader, and I didn't know I was the dude.
Who said you're the leader
But-
yet?
You are
I
the leader
like
now.
Well,
it. Whether it's
I'm
just
digging
your
it.
demeanor tonight, that's set.
I'm
I'm
my
full
own
on.
leader.
I like leader.
That's
I
what's
like
You're a
up.
good leader.
I like you
Dude.
as the leader.
Dude.
I like it
I
too.
trust you.
We'll see what happens.
I think I rolled a die once tonight.
That's fair.
Yeah.
No.
Just so everyone's
I
clear,
did once.
Cass isn't going to go anywhere without Lumi.
Once.
What?
Unless
Yeah,
she's
you're hella Brienne of Tarth.
Yeah, you're like Arya Stark, dude.
I feel like
Hell of a
I
Brianna
feel
Stark.
like you're kind of